Chapter 61. Nalan, it's really you? When Murong heard the conversation from the Sound Stone, he looked at Nalan Lan in disbelief. Nalan Lan didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a thing. She didn't have any evidence, but now the evidence was conclusive. She couldn't defend herself. Director, you heard the conversation. Ichioji is just an executor. The mastermind is Nalan Lan. She wants to kill me. Sima Yue said. The head of teaching's face was extremely dark. He didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a trick up her sleeves. She directly targeted Nalan Lan. If it was an ordinary person, then he would just expel them. However, Nalan Lan was a genius of the Nalan clan. If she was expelled by the academy, then the clan would definitely not let him off easily. Even if he was the dean of the academy, he was still bound by the clan's restrictions. Dean, you've seen the evidence. Please uphold justice for my student, Feng Zhixing said directly when he saw the dean's expression. This, Sima Yue, you only have a voice and it only said Miss Nalan. It doesn't say that it's Nalan Lan, so this evidence can't be established. The dean thought for a while and said something that even he didn't believe. Hearing this, the surrounding students hissed. Director, what do you mean by this? Feng Zhixing said with a cold face. The head of teaching seemed to be very satisfied with the reason he found and said, that's what I mean. There's not enough evidence. We can't say that it was Nalan Lan who ordered it, so we can't make any decisions about Nalan Lan. Director, how can you be like this? Sima Yulu shouted at the teaching director. Sima Yulu, what kind of attitude is this? The head of teaching looked at Sima Yulu with dissatisfaction. If you continue to be like this, be careful that I don't charge you with the crime of disrespecting your teacher. Before the head of teaching could finish his words, he felt a figure flash before his eyes, followed by Nalan Lan's scream. Sima Yue, what are you doing? When the head of teaching saw Sima Yue walking towards Nalan Lan, he placed a dagger on her neck when no one was paying attention. What am I doing? Didn't you see it? Sima Yue said, anyway, you've decided to side with her today. The evidence was clear, but you didn't punish her. From this, it seemed that hurting a classmate wasn't a big deal. So I thought, since that's the case, I'll settle this matter myself. I don't know if her head will still be on her neck if my dagger slips. Stop. The dean saw Sima Yue's dagger moving and immediately stopped her. Why should I stop? Sima Yue looked sarcastically at the head of teaching. So many students heard the conversation between Hichioji and Nalan Lan, but you insist that it wasn't her. Since that's the case, I can kill her and say that I didn't do it. Anyway, I believe that the general's residence has the ability to shut everyone up. You? When the head of teaching saw Sima Yue's dagger drawing a line of blood on Nalan Lan's neck, he wanted to go forward and separate them, but he was stopped by Feng Zhixing. The two exchanged 2 blows and then separated. The head of teaching looked at Feng Zhixing and shouted, Teacher Feng, what are you doing? You're stopping me, are you trying to let Sima Yue kill Nalan Lan? Feng Zhixing stood in front of Sima Yue and looked at the head of teaching. He said, I think Yue is right. Since you're not willing to uphold justice for my student, then let her settle it herself. When she's done, I'll punish her. When Sima Yue heard Feng Zhixing's words, she almost laughed out loud. What did he mean by, when she's done, I'll punish her? When Nalan Lan died, he would at most expel her from the school. At that time, their Nalan family would lose a genius, and she would at most be expelled from the school. Moreover, she was certain that the head of teaching wouldn't dare to let her really hurt Nalan Lan, or else he wouldn't be able to answer to the Nalan family. Teacher Feng, I want to punish you. The head of teaching said, but if you step aside now, I won't pursue the matter. The head of teaching didn't know Feng Zhixing's strength, he only knew that he was someone the principal valued, so he didn't want to have a direct confrontation with him. From his point of view, Feng Zhixing was offending his superiors and obstructing him from enforcing the law. Giving him a chance was already not letting him down. However, Feng Zhixing didn't intend to accept his kindness. Since you can't uphold justice, then I naturally can't believe what you're saying now. Feng Zhixing said seriously, so today I won't let you hurt my student. If you want to punish me, then punish me. Sima Yue, do you know what kind of ending you'll face if you dare to hurt Nalan Lan? The head of teaching saw that Feng Zhixing didn't move, and Sima Yue's dagger could take Nalan Lan's life at any time, so he turned around and said to Sima Yue, isn't it just being expelled? Sima Yue smiled evilly, but before I'm expelled, I'll have a good time first. After saying that, she waved the dagger and prepared to cut Nalan Lan's neck. Stop. The surrounding people were shocked by Sima Yue's actions, and the head of teaching even shouted. Just as Sima Yue's dagger was a centimeter away from Nalan Lan's neck, A terrifying pressure came from the school building. That pressure caused everyone present to be unable to move. Only Feng Zhixing turned around to look at the source of the pressure. That was the head of teaching's office. The head of teaching's window opened, and a figure flew out and landed on the square. Seeing Sima Yue and Nalan Lan, he walked over and pulled Nalan Lan away from Sima Yue. After that terrifying pressure dissipated. Everyone else, disperse. The few of you come to my office. The old head of teaching looked at Sima Yue and the others and left with his hands clasped behind his back. Since the head of teaching had spoken, the others did not dare to say anything and dispersed. Sima Yue, Feng Zhixing, Sima Yulu, the head of teaching, Nalan Lan, He Qiuji and the others followed the head of teaching to his office. Nalan Lan covered her neck and glared fiercely at Sima Yue. It was too sudden just now and she did not notice how Sima Yue got close to her. However, she really felt a strong murderous intent just now. She knew that if the head of teaching did not come out, Sima Yue would really kill her. Sima Yue glanced at Nalan Lan and used her hand to make a throat-slitting action. Seeing her shrink back subconsciously, she smiled happily. After that, she looked at Feng Zhixing who was walking in front. She had just noticed that under the head of teaching's pressure, he was still able to move freely. This proved that his strength was above the head of teaching. It was said that the head of teaching was the most powerful person in Dongqin Kingdom. He was even more powerful than Sima Lai. Feng Zhixing did not look old. Was he really stronger than the head of teaching? What was this kind of person trying to do by hiding in the school? Chapter 62. Crazy Wife, Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife, Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife, Miracle Doctor 5th Miss 62 Readable Chinese Network. The newest version of Readable Chinese Network. Welcome to Readable Chinese Network. Crazy Wife, the Godly Doctor's 5th Young Miss has no pop-up window to read. Fan Bonewood's new book Crazy Wife, the Godly Doctor's 5th Young Miss latest chapter is updated the fastest here. Current location, the Voice of God. Crazy Wife, 5th Miss of the Divine Doctor 1, 2, 3, wink with a frown. When they arrived at the principal's office, everyone consciously split into two groups. Nalan Lan stood behind the head of teaching. Sima Yu and Sima Yulu stood behind Feng Zhixing. He Qiuji looked around and stood beside Sima Yu. The principal sat in his seat and looked at the teaching director, saying, "How do you manage the academy's affairs? You almost killed someone." Principal, it was Sima Yue who wanted to kill Nalan Lan. I wanted to stop her, but I was stopped by Teacher Feng. You should ask Teacher Feng why he stopped me. The head of teaching pushed all the blame onto Sima Yue and Feng Zhixing. The principal looked at Feng Zhixing with a cold face. It was obvious that he was very angry. Sima Yue heard that he was very scary when he was angry. She couldn't help but worry about Feng Zhixing. She was afraid that the principal would find trouble with him. However, the principal suddenly shouted at the dean, "Do you think you have the final say in this school? Although I don't really manage the school's affairs, I'm not blind. I can clearly see what's happening in the square. Now you're trying to push the blame onto someone else? I think you're a director for nothing. Do you want to give up your position? I'll get someone to replace you right away." "No, Principal, The dean wanted to explain, but the principal glared at him. "Where's the sound stone?" the principal asked. Feng Zhixing stepped forward and placed the sound stone on the table. The principal picked up the sound stone and injected his spiritual energy into it. The dialogue from before began to play again. As he listened, he glared daggers at the head of teaching. His meaning was that the head of teaching was so obvious, yet he still made such a decision. The head of teaching was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. After listening to the recording, the principal looked at Nalan Lan and asked, "Do you have anything else to say?" Nalan Lan snorted coldly and turned her head to the side. "Since that's the case, let's dismiss him." The principal said, "He Qiuji, the same goes for you. When the two of you go back, pack your things and leave the academy. From this moment on, you are no longer students of the academy. Now go back and pack your things." Nalan Lan walked out first. When she passed by Sima Yue, she glared at her fiercely. Seeing that the situation had been settled, He Qiuji could only leave unwillingly. "As for you, as the head of teaching, you have been unfair in your handling of affairs and engaged in malpractice for personal gain. You will be suspended for a year. During this time, someone will take over your position. You should go home and reflect on your actions," the principal said to the head of teaching. The dean wanted to defend himself, but when he saw the principal's stern gaze, he swallowed his words and turned to leave. Sima Yue rubbed her nose. Was the matter settled just like that? No matter what, Nalan Lan had been fired. Her first goal had been achieved. Right now, only Sima Yue, Feng Zhixing and the principal were in the house. Seeing that Sima Yue was distracted, the principal snorted and pulled her back to reality. Sima Yue saw that the principal was looking at her and immediately stood up straight, acting like a good student. Why are you pretending to be obedient now? The principal looked at Sima Yue and said, do you know that if I didn't do anything, you would have been expelled today? Harming a fellow student, you really have guts. Sima Yue grinned and said, didn't I know that you would come, principal? That's why I did it. You knew? The principal raised his eyebrows in surprise. That's right. You've been watching from the window for so long. You definitely wouldn't watch us blow this matter up. Sima Yue said. You knew that I was watching from here? The principal and Feng Zhixing looked at each other. It was normal for Feng Zhixing to discover him because he had an unknown strength. But Sima Yue actually knew that he was watching? That's right. You were already here when Master Feng and the rest arrived at the square. Sima Yue said confidently. From the beginning she felt that someone was watching from here. Who else would be able to see from here other than the principal? As an assassin in her previous life, she was very sensitive to this kind of attention. She was the best at hiding herself and discovering others. She immediately felt the principal's undisguised gaze. That's why you used this method to get me out? The principal asked. Sima Yue nodded her head. The head of teaching is determined to protect Nalan Lan. Only you can stop him. But you just stood here and watched without showing yourself. I had no other choice. Sima Yue said with a sigh, but then again if I had been impulsive just now or if my hand had slipped. Seeing the principal's face getting darker and darker, Sima Yue's voice got softer and softer. She swallowed the last words that she wanted to say. I promised your grandfather that I would give you an explanation. I didn't think that you would catch the culprit yourself. Now I've given you justice. I don't care what you do outside the sect. But the Nalan clan is not to be trifled with. Now that your clan is at odds with them, you have to be more careful. The principal said. Her thoughts had been exposed. Sima Yue was not embarrassed and chuckled. The principal waved his hand saying, you two can leave. I have something to say to Master Feng. Yes, principal. Sima Yue and Sima Yulu came out. They looked at each other and laughed. Sima Yulu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead saying, I didn't think that you would dare to do this in front of everyone. I didn't think that the principal would not pursue this matter. You really scared me to death. He who asked that teaching director to be so annoying. Sima Yue put her hand on Sima Yuli's shoulder saying, but their precious daughter has been expelled. I don't think the Nalan clan will let this go. I'm afraid that they will find trouble with grandfather. That's possible. Sima Yulu nodded. I'll go home and tell grandfather about what happened today. Tell him to be careful. Okay, I'll have to trouble you, fourth brother. What are you thanking me for? Who asked me to be your fourth brother? I'll take my leave first. Sima Yulu patted Sima Yue's shoulder and left with big strides. Sima Yue looked at his back as he left and smiled faintly. She had caused such a big problem, but he did not scold her at all. She was really lucky to have such a family. She pushed open the door of the dormitory and saw Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard. When they saw her, Fatty Chu waved at her. She walked over and sat down saying, What are you guys doing here? Waiting for you. Fatty Chu said, Principal didn't make things difficult for you, right? No. Sima Yue said. That's good. Fatty Chu sighed in relief. He was afraid that Sima Yue would be expelled as well. If that happened, he would not be able to eat good food in the future. What do you plan to do next? That He Qiuji should leave the capital with these two. Wei Ziqi asked. That He Qiuji doesn't need me to do anything. The Nalan clan will not let her off. Sima Yue said, now that Nalan Lan has been expelled, it will be a matter between the Nalan clan and the Sima family in the future. That Nalan Lan's younger brother, Nalan Qi, you have to be careful. Wei Ziqi reminded. I will. Sima Yue said, after this, I have to seize the time to cultivate and wait to go on missions with you guys. 4. 5. Small tip, press the Enter key to return to the book list. Press key to return to the previous page. Press key to return to the next page. Read Crazy Wife Explosion, Godly Doctor 5th Miss, please remember our address. Download Crazy Wife Explosion, Godly Doctor 5th Miss, please go to 106636, 5458162. Crazy Wife Explosion, Godly Dr. 5th Miss, as text and chapters are all reposted works. All the chapters were uploaded by netizens and reposted to Readable Chinese Network only to promote this book and let more readers enjoy it. Chapter 63. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi still wanted to persuade her, but seeing the determination in her eyes, they swallowed their words. Then train well, we'll go together. Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yue's shoulder and walked out. And don't worry, I'll take care of you, Fatty Chu said as he left. Sima Yue closed the door. Thinking about Fatty Chu saying that he would take care of her, she smiled. Even though she had been framed by the second-in-command of the organization in her previous life, she did not think that the whole world was a bad person. Subconsciously, she still believed in her own judgment. She could tell that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi truly treated her as a friend. However, what she didn't know was that because she had formed a contract with the spirit orb, her body unconsciously exuded a kind of aura, causing people who had similar souls to her to unconsciously approach her. When Sima Yulu returned to the general's residence, he told Sima Lai everything that had happened in the academy. When Sima Lai heard that the Nalan clansman had done something to Sima Yu, he was so angry that he smashed his desk into pieces. He gritted his teeth and said, "The Nalan clansmen have been targeting our clan recently, and now they dare to do something to Yu. Looks like we haven't dealt them enough damage recently." That's right. Now that Nalan Lan has already been expelled from the sect, based on the way the Nalan clan does things, I'm afraid that they won't let Fifth Bro and our family off. Sima Yulu said. What's there to worry about? They won't let us off, but we don't want to let them off either. Sima Yuming's voice came from outside. Sima Yulu saw Sima Yuming walk in and asked, "Second brother, you're back?" I heard you talk about this the moment I came back. Sima Yuming said, that Nalan clan might cause trouble for Fifth Bro at any time. Grandfather, since we promised the other party to take good care of Fifth Brother, we can't let him fall into such danger now. Sima Lai nodded. Grandfather, second brother, what are you talking about? Sima Yulu heard their conversation and looked at them in surprise. It was only then that Sima Lai and Sima Yuming remembered that Sima Yulu was still around. They recalled that he had never known Sima Yuyu's identity, and never thought that he would forget about it in a moment of anger. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder and said meaningfully, "Actually, Fifth Bro is not our biological brother." What did you say? Sima Yulu was shocked by this news and looked at Sima Yuming in disbelief. It's true. Sima Yuming said, that year when Fifth Bro came to our house, you were still very young, so it's normal that you don't remember. Fifth Bro is actually not our biological brother. Sima Yulu repeated this matter twice before raising his head to look at Sima Lai and asked, then who are Fifth Bro's parents? We also don't know who her mother is. Her father had once been a benefactor to our Sima family. At that time, after handing her over to us, he disappeared. As for his identity, we also don't know. Sima Lai said. When the Sima family first came to this small place, they encountered danger. It was Sima Yuyua's father who happened to pass by and saved them. At that time, they said that they would repay him if they had the chance. Who would have thought that 10 years later he would find him and hand Sima Yuyue over to him? He even instructed him not to let anyone know that Sima Yuyue was a girl. At that time, the Sima family only had Sima Lai's bloodline left. In order to protect Sima Yuyue, he told everyone that it was his son who had brought her back. Actually, at that time, his son had already been missing for many years. It had to be said that Sima Yuyue's parents and his real parents had gone missing. Sima Yulu was too young at that time, so he didn't remember. However, Sima Yuqi, Sima Yuming and Sima Yuran all knew that Sima Yue was not their biological brother. However, they did not treat her as an outsider and continued to treat her as the youngest child of the Sima family and doted on her. Sima Yulu looked at his grandfather, then looked at his brother. Seeing that the two of them did not seem to be lying, he slowly digested this news. Grandfather, that person saved you and the Sima family's life. Today we cannot let anyone hurt Fifth Bro, Sima Yuming said resolutely. The Nalan family has always been looking for ways to weaken our family. Send the shadow guards to the surroundings of the sect. Once Yu leaves the sect, they will protect her secretly. You can't let the Nalan family hurt her. Sima Lai said, as for the sect, I believe that Feng Zhixing will not let her get hurt. That's true. What exactly is Feng Zhixing's identity? Sima Yulu asked curiously. Sima Lai shook his head, I don't know either. I've asked that old guy in the sect before, but even he doesn't know Feng Zhixing's true identity. He only knows that he should be someone from somewhere else. Furthermore, he came for Yu. For fifth bro? Feng Zhixing said, Yu carries a life jade with her. Something like a life jade is not something that just anyone can have. Usually only big clans have it. Furthermore, it has to be placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Yu has a life jade, but it is not placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Instead, it was brought out by her father. This shows that her identity is not simple. However, it is not safe. Speaking of Sima Yu's life jade, Sima Yu Lu and his brother thought of the few months that Sima Yu had gone missing. They relied on the life jade to not go crazy. I don't think we've heard of anyone in this world who has something like a life jade. Sima Yu Lu said. Yes. People in this world can't make one at all. Sima Lai said, they don't even have the materials to make one, let alone the strength to do so. So fifth bro's identity might not be from this world? Sima Yuming asked. That's just my guess. Sima Lai said, however, when Feng Zhixing came to see Yu's life jade, he said that he was there when Yu's life jade was made. This means that he should be from that place as well. Furthermore, he knows Yu's identity. Then will he tell her about fifth bro's identity? Sima Yuming furrowed his eyebrows. Probably not for the time being. Sima Lai said, the way I see it, it seems more like he came to see Yu's life than to tell her the truth. Hearing what Sima Lai said, Sima Yuming and Sima Yu Lu heaved a sigh of relief. Even if Sima Yu was not their biological brother, they had lived together for so many years and had a brotherly bond. They did not want anyone to break this bond. Alright Yulu, go back to the sect. Yuming and I will discuss how to deal with the Nalan clan. Sima Lai said. Okay, if there's anything you need me to do, you must tell me. I'm also a member of the Sima family. Sima Yulu said seriously. Your current mission is to cultivate well and look after fifth bro in the sect. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder. Alright. Then I'll go back first. Sima Yulu shrugged his shoulders and left the study. Seeing that Sima Yulu had left, Sima Yuming turned to look at Sima Lai and asked, Grandfather, how do you plan to deal with the Nalan clan? Chapter 64. The news of the Nalan family's genius girl, Nalan Lan, being expelled from the Imperial College quickly spread throughout the capital. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone in the streets and alleys were talking about it. Nalan family. In the main hall, the Nalan family's patriarch was sitting on his seat. The two elders were sitting on one side, while the others were sitting on both sides. In the middle of the room, Nalan Lan was kneeling on the ground in a blue robe. Her head was lowered, and her long hair hung down behind her head, covering her cheeks. Nalan Chi knelt at the side and looked at the tense atmosphere in the room. He said, Father, you can't blame sister for this. It's all that Sima Yu's fault. If it weren't for her, sister wouldn't have been expelled. How dare you speak? Nalan he fiercely slammed the teacup in his hand onto the table. Looking at the kneeling Nalan Lan and Nalan Chi, he scolded, You clearly know that you can't do these things in the academy, yet you still did it. Now that you've been expelled, you've lost the face of my Nalan family. Nalan Lan lowered her head, not saying a word. Patriarch Lan, didn't want things to turn out like this. I thought that it would be fine if that trash was killed, but I didn't expect her to come back alive. The great elder at the side said, Lan, also wanted to strike a blow at that old fellow Sima Lai. You see, when that trash disappeared, we did indeed take the opportunity to strike at the Sima family. That's right, Patriarch. Lan-er's talent is extraordinary. Without the academy, how could our Nalan clan not be able to nurture the younger generation? Another elder also spoke up for Nalan Lan. But being expelled by the academy, how much shame would it bring to the family? Now, I'll punish you to go to the ancestral hall and repent for 3 months. Reflect on your actions. When Nalan he heard the two elders exonerate his daughter, his heart relaxed a lot. He gave Nalan Lan a punishment that was neither painful nor itchy. Nalan Lan kowtowed to the front, got up and left. From the moment she came back to the moment she left, she had not said a single word. Everyone thought that she had been struck by this matter, but her lowered eyes were bursting with intense hatred and killing intent. She secretly thought that when she came out of the ancestral hall, she would definitely take that trash's dog life. After Nalan Lan left, the great elder waved his hand and dismissed the juniors. There was no need for them to participate in the following conversation. Patriarch, the Sima family is going to directly fall out with us this time. The second elder said. This time the Sima family has humiliated us greatly. We must repay them well. Nalan he gritted his teeth and said, When I went to see the old ancestor yesterday, He also said that we should clean up the Sima family as soon as possible. Then let's start to close the net. The first elder and second elder nodded in agreement when they heard that this was the old ancestors' intention. For a long time, the Sima family had been suppressing their Nalan family. This time they must take down the Sima family. As a result, the struggle between the two families moved from the shadows to the surface. No matter what field it was, the two families had a tendency to fight to the death. Sima Yue also knew a little about the struggle between the two families in the academy. However, she was now ordered by Sima Lai to stay in the academy and was not allowed to go back. She could only work hard to improve herself in the academy. For more than a month, Sima Yue had been practicing alchemy in the Spirit Pearl. Previously, she had almost finished refining. After practicing for a few more days, she once again set her sights on the second step of fusion. This time, Sima Yue chose the simplest first-grade pill, the blood coagulation pill, to practice. This blood coagulation pill only required 4 kinds of ingredients. Moreover, they were all relatively mild ingredients. The probability of explosion was relatively small and the success rate was relatively high. It was a pill that ordinary alchemists would use. After letting Little Spirit prepare the ingredients, Sima Yue once again confirmed the steps of refining the pill. After making sure that she had memorized them, she then began to refine the ingredients. She was already very familiar with the step of refining the essence of the ingredients. Very quickly, all 4 ingredients were refined. After sorting out the refined medicinal herbs, he first put 2 of them into the pill furnace. After a while he put another one in. Thinking about the previous time when the furnace exploded, Sima Yue still had some lingering fear in her heart when she put the ingredients in. She was afraid that the same thing would happen again. However, this time the ingredients gave her face and did not explode. This made her greatly relieved. Following the instructions in the book, she controlled the size of the flame. At this time, she realized that without her own flame, refining pills was a very troublesome thing. After a few minutes, Sima Yue put the last ingredient into the pill furnace. Luckily this time the furnace did not explode. However, just when she thought that she had succeeded, a gurgling sound came from the pill furnace. Then, with a poochie sound, a burnt smell was emitted from the small hole on the pill furnace lid. This meant that the fusion had failed. Sima Yue extinguished the fire and opened the pill furnace lid. As expected, she saw a black lump of something inside. She could not help but sigh. You don't be disappointed. This is your first time, it's normal to fail. It'll be fine once you're familiar with it. Little Roar appeared behind her and comforted her. I'm not disappointed. Sima Yue shook her head and said, I'm just thinking that refining pills is really not a simple thing. Of course. Little Spirit also appeared in the air and said, Master before Master said that the steps of refining pills are not very difficult. However, it is not without reason that tens of thousands of spirit masters are blocked outside. Every minute of refining pills, every step of control must be precise. Moreover, the requirement for mental strength is 1 in 10,000. Looks like I still need a teacher to guide me. Sima Yue touched her chin and began to think about who to choose as her teacher. However, after going through all the pill masters in her mind, she could not think of anyone suitable. They're all crooked melons and cracked dates. I won't be able to learn anything from them. Thinking about how those pill masters were all arrogant, Sima Yue rejected all of them. If those pill masters knew that they were being looked down upon like this, they would be so angry that they would stomp their feet. Forget it, I'll just try it myself first. When I meet a good pill master, I'll think about becoming his disciple. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she picked up another set of ingredients and began to practice. 3 days later, she finally succeeded in refining the first batch of medicinal liquid. Now for the last step, condensing the pill. Sima Yue let out a long sigh of relief. Then, she placed her hand in front of the pill furnace and condensed her spiritual energy, slowly injecting it into the pill furnace. Peng! Once the spiritual energy came into contact with the medicinal liquid, a violent explosion occurred. The pill furnace was blown into pieces and flew everywhere. Sima Yue was also blown away by the force of the explosion. Damn it! It exploded again. Before she fainted, she vaguely saw a fiery red figure appear beside her. There was also a pair of complicated eyes looking at her. Chapter 65. Bang. When Sima Yue slowly regained her consciousness, pain was the only thing she could feel. Yu is awake. Little Roar's voice sounded beside her ear. Looks like he's awake. Little Spirit's voice carried a hint of arrogance. But why hasn't Master opened her eyes? Exquisite's worried voice came from Sima Yuyue's chin. Ling Long, don't lie on Yuyu's stomach. Yuyu won't be able to wake up. Little Roar flew over and lifted Ling Long up. Ling Long moved and broke free from Little Roar's claws. Landing on Ye Guang's back, she fiercely glared at Little Roar. Master should have regained consciousness. Ye Guang sniffed Sima Yue and said. Exquisite looked at the transparent figure beside her and pouted. Hey, we'll just guard Master. What are you doing out here? Wah, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to Yuyu? Little Roar roared at Emo Sha. Let's say this first, Yuyu is ours, don't fight with us. Emo Sha faintly glanced at the beasts and ignored them. His gaze then landed on Sima Yue, his gaze deep and serene. Little Roar looked at Emo Sha, then looked at Sima Yue. Why was this guy looking at Yuyu like that? There was a problem. Sima Yue listened to Little Roar and the others chattering non-stop in her ears. She felt as if her brain was about to explode, but she could not open her eyes. I'll deal with you guys when I wake up. Sima Yue could not help but think. Although she couldn't open her eyes, her consciousness was abnormally clear. The nerves in her body were also more sensitive, and the pain in every part of her body was magnified several times. Just when she felt that she was about to faint from the pain again, there was a sudden cracking sound somewhere in her body. Then, a cold breath came out from her lower abdomen and traveled through her limbs and bones. As the aura flowed through him, the burning pain slowly lessened until it finally disappeared. After the aura traveled a few times, it returned to his lower abdomen and quieted down. Sima Yue slowly opened her eyes. Little Roar and the others were nowhere to be seen. They probably saw that she was fine and ran off to play. Master, you're awake. Ye Guang saw that Sima Yue was awake and said excitedly. Sima Yue sat up. The first person she saw was not Ye Guang but Emo Sha, who was sitting at the side. Why did this guy come out? She rubbed her forehead and said, Ye Guang, how long have I been unconscious? You use consciousness, you're awake? But after regaining consciousness, you slept for another 2.5 days, so it's been 3 days. Ye Guang replied from the other side. 3 days? She said Yue was Yue's by Yu. Was it you was Yue? Yu? Only then did she notice that her hands were smooth and flawless, just like before. Yue of her to. It's healed. Emo Sha suddenly said. Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha in surprise. Did he just say that the wound on her hand was healed? Surprised? Emo Sha looked at Sima Yue. Not only is your hand healed, the other wounds on your body are healed as well. Sima Yue touched the wounds on her body. Indeed, she could not feel them anymore. Oh. Sima Yue could not hide her surprise. She looked at Emo Sha and asked, Did you heal me? Emo Sha shook his head and said, You did it yourself. Me. Sima Yue pointed at herself suspiciously. It was obvious that she did not believe Emo Sha's words. Master, you really healed by yourself. Ye Guang said from the side, When you were unconscious, the wounds on your body healed bit by bit. We were all shocked at that time. It's really me? Sima Yue still felt that this matter was too unbelievable. However, Ye Guang was an honest person and would not lie to its master. If it said that it healed by itself, then it should be true. But when did she have such an amazing self-healing ability? While she was in a daze, Emo Sha suddenly floated over and arrived in front of Sima Yue, giving her a big fright. What are you doing? She looked at the face that was suddenly enlarged. Even if it was good-looking, it was still very scary. There's something wrong with your body. Emo Sha sniffed Sima Yue's body and said coldly. Sima Yue saw that Emo Sha was looking at her like she was his prey. She subconsciously pushed him away, but her hand passed through his body. What's wrong with me? It's just that I have some amazing self-healing ability. You're the one with the problem. Emo Sha left Sima Yue and said, Your body has been sealed. Sealed? What seal? Sima Yue stood up and lowered her head to look at her body. She didn't find anything wrong with it. Have you seen anyone who was injured by an explosion and was able to recover in 2 days without taking any pills? Emo Sha said. I don't think so. Sima Yue said. Have you had such an experience before? Emo Sha asked again. Sima Yue thought about it in her memory and shook her head. In the past, this body was often injured, but every time she relied on pills to get better. She had never experienced such a situation before. Could it be that my self-healing ability has something to do with the seal you mentioned? Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha and asked. At the moment of the explosion, I felt a familiar aura. Emo Sha said, I wanted to confirm if it was it, but you were unconscious so I couldn't do anything. How can you confirm? Sima Yue asked, also what's with the seal you mentioned? You have to let me confirm before I can answer your question. Emo Sha said. Tell me how to confirm it first. Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha in disbelief. This was a big devil. If he played any tricks, she would be sold by him and have to count the money for him. I'll enter your body, Emo Sha said. Sima Yue was furious and shouted at him, I told you you're definitely up to no good. If I let you enter my body, what if you try to take over my body? Or what if you hurt my body? I won't let you do that. Emo Sha didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a big reaction and said, I won't hurt you. Iske, I don't believe you. Sima Yue said, I've checked the information. The book said that the Devil Clan is the most untrustworthy. You say you won't hurt me now, but what if you go back on your words after entering my body? Don't. Emo Sha looked at Sima Yue's disdainful gaze and was furious. A whirlpool formed around his body. What are you doing? You want to kill me? This is my territory. Sima Yue shouted at Emo Sha. Emo Sha's aura slowly weakened and returned to his original state. If it wasn't for the fact that the sand on the ground was different, Sima Yue wouldn't have been able to tell that he was angry. I can't hurt you. That's because we have a contractual relationship. Emo Sha slowly said these words, successfully causing Sima Yue to freeze in place. Chapter 66. Contract relationship? Emo Sha nodded, indicating that it was true. Then why don't I feel that there's a contract between us? Sima Yue asked curiously. Because I've blocked it. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue sized Emo Sha up and was secretly shocked. To be able to block the contract between them and make her feel nothing, even if she hadn't been in this world for long, she knew that it was almost impossible. But not only did he do it, but it was also under the condition of an incomplete soul. What a terrifying existence he was when he was alive. But the more powerful he is, the more things he'll know. Sima Yue guessed in her heart. If he has a contract with me, then wouldn't I have a very powerful guarantee? Who knows, I might even get more things from him. Emo Sha saw Sima Yue's eyes darting around and knew that she was up to something, but he was too lazy to care. He closed his eyes for a while, then opened them to look at her and said, all right. Sima Yue felt for a while and realized that she really had a connection with Emo Sha. When did we form a contract? She still felt that it was inconceivable. The other party was a demon and he was in a soul state. How did they form a contract? When you destroyed the Mei Soul formation, I don't know how you formed a contract with the Spirit Stone, but I, who was inside, was naturally contracted as well. Emo Sha thought of this and his face turned as black as a smelly drain. How is it? Can I go in to investigate now? I want to see what's going on with your seal. Speaking of the seal in her body, Sima Yue became serious. She didn't think that there would be such a strange thing in her body. She didn't know what was sealed, who sealed it, and why. Come. She nodded at Emo Sha, not knowing how he was going to enter her body. Just as she was about to ask, Emo Sha had already turned into a black light and entered between her eyebrows. The moment he entered, Sima Yue felt a bone-piercing coldness and subconsciously shivered. Why is this guy's temperature so cold? Sima Yue could not help but complain. If I don't come out now, I'll be frozen into a popsicle. After a while, before Sima Yue's body reached its limit, Emo Sha finally came out from between her eyebrows. As soon as he left, she immediately felt the chill disappear. How is it? What's going on with the seal? Sima Yue saw that Emo Sha was looking at her with a complicated gaze and asked aloud. Seeing that he did not speak, she said, could it be that there's a bomb sealed in my body? It's not a bomb, but it's pretty much the same. Emo Sha had followed Sima Yue for so long, so he knew what the bomb she was talking about was. It's really a bomb. Sima Yue's expression turned sad. I was just guessing. I didn't expect that I would be right. I said it's not a bomb. Emo Sha said. Alright, no matter what it is, I have to know. Sima Yue pursed her lips and said, tell me what's sealed in my body? Light demon body. Emo Sha's voice trembled when he said this, as if he was excited. Sima Yue was confused by the words he said, so she did not notice his excitement. What's a light demon body? Why did it have to be sealed? If it wasn't sealed, I'm afraid that your body would have exploded before you were 2 or 3 years old. Is that scary? Sima Yue tried to find some exaggeration on his face, but failed in the end. Then what exactly is this thing? This world is divided into the light world and the dark world. You should know this, right? Emo Sha looked at Sima Yue. don't you know just by looking at you and me? Sima Yue felt that Emo Sha would talk for a long time, so she simply took out a chair from her space ring and sat down to listen slowly. Emo Sha looked at Sima Yue's actions and could not help but have a face full of black lines. Why was this girl who was so worried just now suddenly looking for a chair to sit down and listen? People in the light world have a type of physique that is rarely seen in hundreds of thousands of years. This type of physique is actually an aura in the body. This aura allows the person to cultivate several times faster than a normal spirit master, and there are very few necks. Furthermore, it has a very strong self-healing ability. This type of physique is called the light body. That's amazing. Sima Yue opened her mouth wide. If I were to meet this type of physique, wouldn't that be like opening a super cheat? Correspondingly, in the dark world, people who have dark aura are called the demon body. If one could have one of these, it would be an extremely lucky thing for anyone. Emo Sha said, but you're different from them. You said that I have the light demon body, don't tell me that I have both types of physiques. Sima Yue said. Emo Sha gave her a "you're very smart" look and continued, that's right, you have both types of aura in your body. One represents light and the other represents darkness. These two types of aura are originally incompatible. Now that they're coexisting in one body, what do you think will happen? Especially when you were still a baby, even a little bit of impact would have taken your life. No wonder it had to be sealed. Sima Yue said. Then she thought of something and looked straight at Emo Sha, asking, now that the seal is broken, wouldn't that mean that I'm about to die? Not at the moment. Emo Sha said, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha and smiled brilliantly, saying, you definitely have a way, right? Emo Sha raised his eyebrows, how so? Since there's a contract between us, then if I die, you won't be able to live either. But you don't look worried at all. Sima Yue said confidently, besides, you immediately recognize that I have the light devil body, so you must be someone with experience. Either you are, or you've come in contact with it. Emo Sha's gaze towards Sima Yue changed quite a bit. He didn't think that this guy had some brains. This young master knows that his charm is hard to resist, but you don't have to look at me like that. Sima Yue used her hand to flick her non-existent bangs, looking very flirtatious, causing Emo Sha to roll his eyes. You haven't told me what kind of demon you are. Sima Yue said. I was once like you. Emo Sha said faintly. Although Sima Yue guessed it, hearing Emo Sha say was still a bit shocking. Then how did you become one of the devil race? Emo Sha glanced at Sima Yue, then looked at the mountain in the distance, saying, when I was young, I was also a human. I didn't grow up in the devil race. Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha, feeling that she was emitting a thick sadness. Chapter 67. Sima Yue was shocked by Emo Sha's words. If he wasn't a member of the demon race, how did he end up like this? Then how did you become a devil? Seeing Emo Sha's appearance, she couldn't suppress the curiosity in her heart. Emo Sha was only sad for a moment, but he quickly restrained his emotions and replied, my father is from the human race and my mother is from the devil race. Speaking of which, the blood of the devil race also flows in my body. That's why you have the light devil body. Sima Yue nodded. If his parents were both humans, then it was impossible for him to have the aura of darkness in his body. Thinking of this, her heart tightened. If that was the case, then one of her parents was also not a human. Your current situation is similar to mine in the past. Now that the seal has been broken, it is not much of a threat to you. In fact, it is a good thing. Emo Sha obviously didn't want to talk about himself anymore. He looked at Sima Yue and said, right now the two auras are still at a stage where you can control them so you won't explode and die. However, the light devil body's physique will allow you to cultivate a few times faster than normal people. Your talent has always been higher than ordinary people, and now it will be even more powerful. Really? Sima Yue's eyes lit up as she looked at Emo Sha. If he wasn't a spiritual body, she might have run over to hug him and give him a big kiss. Don't celebrate too early. Emo Sha looked at her and couldn't help but want to pour cold water on her. As your strength increases, the two auras of the light devil body will also strengthen. If you can't control it at that time, there will be a dangerous situation. Sima Yue wasn't that worried when she heard this. Anyway, you have a way, don't you? Since you were able to survive back then, I can too. These simple yet confident words caused Emo Sha's heart to tremble. Back then he was also young and frivolous, filled with confidence in himself. When he found out that he had the light devil body, he believed that he could survive. In the end, he really did survive. It was just that the process was somewhat painful. Oh yeah, what's the method you were talking about? Sima Yue raised her head and asked. There's no point in telling you now. Emo Sha said indifferently. Gee, you're pretending again. Sima Yue pursed her lips, but she did not continue asking. If this guy really did not want to talk about it, he would not open his mouth. Anyway, she now believed that he wouldn't harm her. Emo Sha pretended not to hear Sima Yue's words and asked, All right, we finished talking about your body. Let's talk about the next thing. Anything else? Alchemy, cauldron explosion. Emo Sha said indifferently. This. Sima Yue frowned. I don't know why either. The furnace keeps exploding when I'm refining pills. I'm just following the instructions in the book. I've seen you refine pills. Your technique is passable, but the problem lies in your control of temperature. Emo Sha said, every pill has a different temperature at every stage. The slightest deviation can lead to failure. You know how to refine pills? Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. From the way he spoke, she could tell that he was not an amateur. I will. Emo Sha admitted. What rank? You'll know in the future. Emo Sha replied. Anyways, it's enough to teach you. Chi. Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. This guy really liked to pretend. If you don't tell me, how would I know if you really know how to refine pills? Emo Sha frowned and said unhappily, if you don't want to learn, then forget it. Hey, I didn't say that I don't want to learn. Sima Yue saw that Emo Sha seemed to be at the end of his patience. She giggled and said, if you don't want to tell me, then I won't. Anyways, we're in the same boat now. If I become stronger, I'll be able to help you find your other half. I won't have to worry about you cheating me. Emo Sha looked down, hiding the emotions in his eyes. He was willing to teach her alchemy because he had his own reasons. Alright, I'll tell you the basics of alchemy now. After listening to Emo Sha's explanation, Sima Yue had a better understanding of alchemy. It turned out that alchemy wasn't as easy as she thought. It looked like 3 simple steps, but there were thousands of ways to do it. If there was even the slightest mistake, she wouldn't be able to become an alchemist. No wonder there are so many spirit masters and so few alchemists. Sima Yue rubbed her chin. These are all based on one premise. Emo Sha said. What prerequisites? Sima Yue asked. Strong mental strength. After Emo Sha finished speaking, he glanced at Sima Yue. Her mental strength could be said to be the strongest among those of the same age that he had ever seen. If it was not for the fact that she had such a strong mental strength, he would not have thought of teaching her. Strong mental strength? Alchemy requires mental strength to control. Especially for higher-ranked pills, the process is more complicated and has a higher requirement for mental strength. The stronger your mental strength, the further you can walk on the path of alchemy. Emo Sha explained. So that's how it is. Sima Yue placed both her hands behind her head and leaned against the back of the chair. She looked at Emo Sha and asked, Aren't you from the Devil Clan? How do you know the human clan's alchemy methods? The human and Devil Clan's alchemy methods are the same. It's just that there are some differences when it comes to condensing the pills. Emo Sha said, the human clan's pills need to be infused with light spiritual energy. The Devil Clan's pills need to be infused with dark spiritual energy. For some similar pills, if a Devil Clan member eats a pill infused with light spiritual energy, the pill will turn into poison. On the other hand, humans can't eat pills that contain dark spiritual energy. Understood. Sima Yue nodded. Place the spirit stone on your forehead. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue didn't know what he wanted to do, but she still did as he said. She took out the spirit stone and placed it on her forehead. The moment her forehead touched the spirit stone, a ray of light shot out from the spirit stone and entered her consciousness from between her eyebrows. This is a method to cultivate mental strength. If you practice according to the method on it, your mental strength will become stronger. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue closed her eyes and felt it. In her consciousness, other than the Imperial Beast art, there was now a book filled with an ancient aura. Soul Training Art. Sima Yue looked at the name on the page and her heart trembled. She opened her eyes and looked at Emo Sha, asking, Isn't it cultivating mental strength? Why is it the soul training art? The stronger the soul, the stronger the mental strength. Emo Sha explained simply, Alright, let's go to the alchemy room. You can refine the pills from before again. I will guide you from the side. Okay. Hearing Emo Sha say this, Sima Yue put away the questions in her heart and her curiosity towards the soul training art. She brought him to the alchemy room. She could ask him those questions later. Learning alchemy was the most important thing now. Chapter 68. Sima Yue found a few more sets of ingredients to refine the blood coagulation pill. Under Mo Sha's watchful eyes, she refined each of the ingredients. Mo Sha watched her as she refined the herbs, and his eyes shone with approval. She hadn't been in contact with alchemy for a long time, but her movements were quite proficient. It seemed that not only did she have the talent for alchemy, she also had the determination to work hard. After refining the herbs, Sima Yue looked at Mo Sha, who was beside her. Put the ingredients into the furnace in order. I will remind you of the things you need to pay attention to at every step. Mo Sha said. Sima Yue took a deep breath and placed the ingredients that she had refined into the furnace in order. When it was time to put in the second ingredient and when it was time to control the heat, Mo Sha would always remind her when it was time to do so. With Mo Sha's guidance, half an hour later, a pill with a faint medicinal fragrance slowly formed. All right, extinguish the fire. Mo Sha said. Sima Yue extinguished the fire under the pill furnace and sighed in her heart. If she had her own flame, it would not be so troublesome to extinguish it. She opened the pill furnace and took out the pill inside. Although the shape was a bit ugly, this was the first time she had successfully refined a pill. Just thinking about it made her excited. However, Mo Sha wasn't very satisfied with her results and said, I'll refine it once. You watch carefully from the side. Oh, Sima Yue knew that Mo Sha was looking down on her results, but it didn't affect her mood. She took out a jade bottle and placed the pill inside. Then she stood to the side to see how Mo Sha would handle it. Seeing him standing motionless in front of the herbs, she rubbed her chin and thought to herself, I wonder how this soul body can refine pills. I'll try my best to slow down. You have to watch carefully. After Mo Sha finished speaking with a thought, a black flame appeared in his hand. He casually flung it, and the flame ran to the bottom of the alchemy furnace. He waited for the alchemy furnace to heat up, and then he put the medicinal ingredients in to be refined one by one. Sima Yue felt a terrifying heat the moment the black flame appeared, but she quickly suppressed it. If it wasn't for her sensitive soul, she wouldn't have noticed it. She wanted to ask Mo Sha what kind of flame this was, but seeing that he was only refining pills, she swallowed her questions and seriously observed his movements. Although Mo Sha had slowed down his movements, he still used less than half of her time to refine the pill. He retracted the flame and asked Sima Yue to take out the pill. Sima Yuming hurried forward and couldn't wait to open the lid. The pill lying inside was perfectly round and had a medicinal fragrance. With one look, she could tell that it was many times better than the one she refined. It looked like it was at least a first-ranked high-rank pill. Alright, you should first digest what I've told you and think about it yourself. Mo Sha returned to the spirit stone after he finished speaking. Sima Yue did not have the time to ask about his black flame. You left so quickly. Sima Yue pursed her lips and decided to ask him next time. She sat down on the stool and closed her eyes. The process of Mo Sha refining pills just now appeared in front of her eyes. A day later, Little Spirit smelled a strong medicinal fragrance. His eyes lit up and he appeared in the pill refining room. Master, you've refined it? Sima Yue kept the pill that she had just refined into a jade bottle and ignored Little Spirit's gluttonous look, saying, I've refined it. Haha, I told you that you would definitely become an alchemist. Little Spirit laughed twice and looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at a treasure. Sima Yue threw the jade bottle into Little Spirit's hands, saying, Clean it up. After that, she flashed out of the spirit pearl. Little Spirit saw that the pill refining room was in a mess, and with a wave of his hand, the room returned to its original tidiness. After that, he took the jade bottle and disappeared happily. Inside the room, Sima Yue sat cross-legged on the bed. After a while, she opened her eyes and spat out a mouthful of turbid air. The tiredness from refining pills had disappeared. Yu, Fatty Chu and the others came to look for you a few times while you were in closed-door cultivation. Little Roar saw that Sima Yue had woken up and said while lying on the table, What's the matter? Sima Yue got down from the bed. I don't know, they just walked around the door a few times. They probably thought that you were cultivating, so they didn't knock on the door. Little Roar's 4 short limbs moved vigorously and wanted to turn over, but after a few tries he still failed. Sima Yue walked over and lowered her head to look at him. She reached out and flipped him over, saying indifferently, You should lose some weight. After saying that, she opened the door and walked out. Little Roar laid on the table and looked at Sima Yue's back with tears streaming down his face. He wailed in his heart, That's because you fattened me up in the past. Now you actually despise me for being fat. Sima Yue stepped out of the room and coincidentally saw Ouyang Fei walking in from outside. A faint smell of blood floated from his body. You're injured? Ouyang Fei looked at her and didn't say anything as he directly returned to his room. Sima Yue rubbed her nose. This guy's aura was lower than usual today. Could it be because he was beaten up? Yue, you're out? Wei Ziqi came out from his room and smiled at Sima Yue. Yeah. Sima Yue nodded. Little Roar said that you guys came to look for me during this period of time? Yes, regarding the mission, we originally wanted to discuss it with you. However, seeing that there was no movement in your room, we didn't want to disturb you. Wei Ziqi said. What's wrong? Sima Yue asked. Because our mission this time is more difficult, we decided to set off earlier. Since classes have already stopped recently, we decided to wait for you to come out before we set off. Wei Ziqi said apologetically. It was originally a group activity, but they didn't wait for Sima Yue to come out before making the decision. So fast? Sima Yue was slightly surprised. Looking at Wei Ziqi's expression, she smiled and said, looks like I've delayed everyone's schedule. Since it's like this, I'll pack up and let grandfather and the rest know before we set off. Don't rush. Wei Ziqi said, looking at Ouyang, we won't be able to leave in these 2 days. You can take your time to prepare. Okay. Then I'll go back first. I'll come back tomorrow. Sima Yue said. Okay. Wei Ziqi nodded. Seeing Sima Yue close the door and leave, he suddenly thought of something and called out to her. Oh right, that he Qiuji was found dead in the city while you were in seclusion. The other party did it very cleanly. It should be the Nalan clan. Hearing the news of He Qiuji's death, Sima Yue wasn't surprised. She knew that the Nalan clan wouldn't let her off. She waved at Wei Ziqi and turned to leave. Those who wanted to harm her should have been prepared to die. Returning to the general's residence, Sima Yue found Sima Lai and told him that she would be leaving for a period of time for a mission. Sima Lai didn't agree at first, but under her coaxing and pestering, he reluctantly agreed. Seeing her leave, he called the housekeeper and said, "Fifth young master wants to go out. Send someone to protect him secretly." Yes, old master. The housekeeper accepted the order and went to arrange the people. Sima Yue stayed at home for a night and returned to the academy early the next morning. After taking a few turns, she entered a small alley. Since you're here, why are you still hiding? Chapter 69. The people who were following Sima Yue were still wondering why she had come to the alley, but after hearing her words, they realized that she had purposely brought them here. I didn't expect a trash like you to discover us. A man in black walked out from behind a cover and stared coldly at Sima Yue. Another person came out from the other side of the alley and blocked Sima Yue. Sima Yue looked at the person who spoke just now and said, Nalan Chi, you want to learn how to stalk others with your dog face? Don't make fun of me. You piece of trash, you still have a sharp tongue even when you're about to die. Nalan Chi glared at Sima Yue, his eyes filled with undisguised murderous intent. You caused my sister to be grounded for a month. Today I must avenge her. You want to kill me? Sima Yue was very familiar with killing intent. She sneered, do you think you can kill me? Let's not talk about the fact that you have a level 1 Soul Master bodyguard behind you. I am a level 8 Soul Master. Do you think I can't deal with a piece of trash like you who can't even sense spiritual power? Nalan Chi looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at an idiot. I didn't beat you to death last time. Today I will definitely send you to meet the King of Hell. Seeing you jump around in front of me is really annoying. You're right. Watching you jump around in front of me is really annoying. Since we have the same goal, let's cut the crap and attack. Sima Yue turned around and ran after saying that. You want to run? Stop her. When Nalan Chi saw Sima Yue running away, he thought that she wanted to escape, so he asked the people on the other side of the alley to stop her. The guard was shocked when he saw Sima Yue's speed. He did not expect this trash to run from the middle of the alley to him in a few breaths. When he heard Nalan Chi's order, he started to gather his spiritual energy. Even though he was shocked, he did not forget to throw a spiritual energy ball at Sima Yue. When Sima Yue saw the spiritual energy ball coming towards her, she moved her body and ran along the wall, dodging the attack. Bang! The spiritual energy ball exploded on the ground, causing smoke and dust to fly everywhere. When the guard thought that he had succeeded, Sima Yue's figure ran out from the wall. Holding a dagger in her hand, she dashed in front of him and laughed evilly. She slashed the dagger on his neck and then jumped back. When the guard saw Sima Yue's smile, he felt a chill in his heart. He didn't think that before he could even react, he would feel his neck go numb. After that, he saw his own blood spurt out from his neck. Bang! His body fell backwards. Until his death, he still couldn't figure out how this rumored trash had dodged his attack, and how could he be so fast? Also, how could that dense killing intent appear on the body of a piece of trash who had been pampered since childhood? Nalan Chi came out of the smoke and waited for the dust to settle so that he could see Sima Yue's body. However, he did not expect to see Sima Yue standing in front of him unscathed. Behind her, his guards were lying lifelessly on the ground. "You're not dead," he cried out in surprise. Even if it was him, he would have been seriously injured if not dead. However, Sima Yue was not even injured. How was this possible? Sima Yue smiled evilly. "How can I die when you're not dead yet? Even if you were lucky enough to escape, you won't be so lucky now," Nalan Chi said as he began to condense the spirit chi in his body. "Actually, I didn't plan to take your life so early. However, since you're here yourself, I can't let your efforts go to waste, right?" Sima Yue said as she began to condense the spirit chi in her body. Nalan Chi looked at Sima Yue's things and shouted in surprise, "You're a spiritual master too?" Sima Yue smiled but did not say anything. She would never be soft-hearted towards her enemies who had tried to kill her multiple times. Nalan family. Nalan Lan was in her own house. She was panicking as if something was about to happen. Could it be that my brother really went to find trouble with Sima Yue? Nalan Lan mumbled to herself. In the morning, Nalan Chi came to tell her that Sima Yue had returned home last night and was going to the academy today. He planned to kill her on the way there. She did not agree at first, but Nalan Chi insisted and left with his guards. After Nalan Chi left, she began to panic and was worried that something would happen. However, when she thought about it, Sima Yue was just a good-for-nothing. With Nalan Chi and his guard's strength, killing her was just a matter of moving their fingers. Her heart calmed down when she thought about it this way. "Sima Yue, it's a pity that I can't end your life with my own hands. However, it's the same if you die in my brother's hands." Nalan Lan clenched her fists when she thought about being kicked out of the academy. In the small alley, Sima Yue came to Nalan Chi's side. Seeing that his face had been burned beyond recognition by her spirit chi flames, his eyes were filled with fear and shock. She kicked him and said, "Why are you so shocked? Because I know how to cultivate? Or because you didn't think that you would be defeated so quickly?" Nalan Chi blinked his eyes, unable to say a word. He did not think that not only did Sima Yue know how to cultivate, her level was even higher than his. He did not know why, but when she used her spirit chi, there was no indication of her level. However, he could feel that she was at least a spirit master. Seeing the murderous intent in her eyes, he suddenly regretted it. If he did not bring people to kill her today, or if he was not arrogant and brought more people, he would not have ended up like this. I have always been a person of my words. Since I said that I would take your life today, I naturally will not keep my word. Sima Yue took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and said, "You are ruthless in this life, but unfortunately your strength is not enough. Pray that you will not meet me in your next life." After saying this, she stabbed the dagger into Nalan Chi's heart and completely ended his life. In order to prevent any trouble from finding Nalan Chi's body, she kept Nalan Chi and his guards' bodies into the spirit pearl and handed it over to Little Spirit to deal with. Little Spirit saw the bodies that Sima Yue threw in and clapped his little hands. The two bodies turned into dust and dissipated into the air. After dealing with the matters here, she slowly walked out of the alley and walked towards the academy. Soon after, two figures appeared in the alley. Seeing the bloodstains on the ground, they looked at each other and could not hide the shock in their eyes. Fifth young master was actually able to kill the opponent in such a short time. It seems that his strength is not weak. I will continue to follow fifth young master. You go back and report to the general. Okay. After saying this, the two of them went their separate ways. Sima Yue arrived at the academy. Before she reached the dormitory, she met someone waiting for her on a quiet path. Chapter 70. Teacher Feng, what are you doing here? Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's figure and stopped to ask. This was a small path that led to the dormitory. Usually, very few people would use this path because it was still early. She did not think that Feng Zhixing would be waiting for her here. Waiting for you. Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and said lightly. What's the matter? Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's calm appearance and her violent heart that had just killed someone calmed down. Ouyang Fei came to find me yesterday and said that you guys will be leaving the school today. Feng Zhixing said. Sima Yue did not think that they would be leaving so soon. However, thinking that she had already delayed them for a few days, Ouyang Fei and the rest must be anxious. Yes, they said that they would be leaving early. She nodded. Your mission is the most difficult one this time. It is also very dangerous. You have to be careful. Feng Zhixing said. I will. Thank you for your concern. If there's nothing else, I will leave first. They are still waiting for me. Sima Yue scratched her face and said with a smile. Go. Feng Zhixing waved his hand. Seeing that Sima Yue had left, he muttered, There's the smell of blood. What did this girl do? Master, are you okay with letting her go with those people on this mission? A voice sounded out from nowhere. There's nothing to be worried about. If she wants to do it, then let her go. Experience is also good for increasing her strength. Feng Zhixing said as he slowly left the small path. When Sima Yue returned to the dormitory, the other 4 people were already prepared and waiting for her. Ziqi, didn't you say that we would wait for 2 days? Why are you in such a rush? Seeing the 4 people ready to go, she pulled Wei Ziqi over and asked. Wei Ziqi helplessly looked at Ouyang Fei and said, We wanted to let him rest for 2 days before going because he was injured. However, he insisted, so we did not say anything. Have you packed your things? I have everything with me. Sima Yue waved the space ring on her hand and said with a smile. Then let's go. Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yue's shoulder and said to the other 3. The pressure on Ouyang Fei's body was still as low as yesterday. Hearing Wei Ziqi's words, he did not utter a single word as he walked out of the courtyard. Let's go. Bei Gongtang said faintly before walking out. Sima Yue, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi looked at each other, shrugged their shoulders and followed. Alright Ziqi, you guys still haven't told me what our mission is. Following them to the Soul Master Guild, Sima Yue realized that she had been busy cultivating and refining pills. She had completely forgotten to ask about the mission. Wei Ziqi slapped his forehead and said with some vexation, See, I forgot to tell you about our mission. Our mission this time is to collect some medicinal herbs. Medicinal herbs? After staying in the teleportation array for so long, his back was aching. I have no objections. Sima Yue replied. Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei also nodded their heads. The sky was about to turn dark and rashly going to the Puluo mountain range at this time was also a relatively dangerous thing to do. Thus, the 5 of them conveniently asked for the location of the nearest inn when they left the Spirit Master Guild. They went to book 5 rooms and ate dinner before going back to rest. Not long after they had checked into the inn, a few other people also checked in. Sima Yue returned to the house and sprawled on the bed. During dinner, she saw that the other 4 people all had grave expressions on their faces. She knew that they were nervous about entering the mountain the next day. However, to her who had stayed in the Puluo mountain range for so long, there was nothing to be nervous about. Thus, after a simple wash-up, she hugged her blanket and fell asleep. The next morning, the few of them gathered downstairs to eat breakfast. Last night, I already asked the shop owner about the situation at the Puluo mountain range. Wei Ziqi ate his breakfast and said to the other 4, The Puluo mountain range is divided into the outer, middle and inner regions. Sima Yue already knew everything that Wei Ziqi said. However, after hearing him speak in such detail, she sighed in admiration at his ability to gather information. As long as we don't go to the middle or inner regions, there won't be too much danger. Wei Ziqi concluded. But if the medicinal ingredients that we need to gather are not in the outer regions, we can only take the risk and go to the middle regions to take a look. Fatty Chu said. The middle regions are too dangerous. If we can avoid it, we should try our best not to go. Wei Ziqi said, Let's go. This is the first time I've come to the Puluo mountain range. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Chapter 71. A group of people went out of the city gate and directly advanced towards the Puluo mountain range. Along the way, they saw many other people who were also rushing in the same direction as them. Why are there so many people going? Fatty Chu couldn't help but ask as he looked at the people coming and going. Some of these people are just like us, but most of them are mercenaries from different places. Sima Yue had seen some mercenaries before and she could tell from their clothes. Mercenaries would come to a place like this? Fatty Chu looked at these people. Many of them had fiendish looks, as if they were people who lived on the edge of a knife. That's right, some mercenaries will take on a few missions. For example, if they need some medicinal ingredients or a spirit beast's magic crystal or some other materials, they will need to go into the mountains. Wei Ziqi explained. So they also entered the mountain? I thought that since the Puluo mountain range is so dangerous no one would go there. Fatty Chu said. This is far from what you imagined, isn't it? Sima Yue patted Fatty Chu's shoulder. Both of them grew up in the capital city. If she had not stayed here for a period of time, she would have been clueless like Fatty Chu. The group of people had been rushing for half a day, but just as they reached the Puluo mountain range, Fatty Chu shouted that he could no longer walk. Sima Yue looked around. Other than her, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were panting. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang were also exhausted. She looked at the surroundings and said, "It's getting late now. Why don't we find a place to set up camp and rest for the night? We'll enter the mountain tomorrow." Hearing Sima Yue's words, Fatty Chu sat down on the floor and looked at Sima Yue's relaxed face, saying, "Yue, we're all so tired. Why aren't you tired at all?" "I usually train my body. This kind of physical exhaustion is useless to me." Sima Yue shrugged and said, "You guys can rest here. I'll go and see if there's a spacious place nearby." After she finished speaking, she left, leaving the four of them to rest. After a while, Sima Yue came back after taking a stroll. Seeing that Fatty Chu and the rest had already rested, she said, "I just found a suitable place to set up camp. Shall we go over?" "All right." Sima Yue brought the others to the place she had her eyes on. Unexpectedly, someone had already set up camp there. It was a mercenary group that was setting up camp. Seeing Sima Yue and the rest coming over, a young man in his 20s or 30s smiled at them and said, "You guys have your eyes on this place too? This place is bigger, so we'll all gather here. If you don't mind, you can camp on the other side." Sima Yue looked at the others and asked for their opinion. "Just make do with it," Ouyang Fei said. "It's just for one night anyway." Bei Gong Tang didn't say anything. She immediately took out her own tent and prepared to set up camp. "Ouyang is right. Anyway, it's just for one night. Just put up with it," Wei Ziqi said. Seeing that everyone agreed, Sima Yue and Fatty Chu took out their own tents and set them up according to the shop owner's instructions. After he was done, he took out a large bed from his spatial ring and placed it in the middle of the tent. "Damn, you even brought such a large bed when you went out?" Fatty Chu, who had just finished packing his things, was stunned when he saw her large bed. Sima Yue was shocked by Fatty Chu's reaction. She glared at him and said, "What's there to be surprised about? Aren't you guys the same?" Fatty Chu pursed his lips and said, "Where would we have such a large space to put such a large bed?" Sima Yue didn't understand. Could it be that their spatial rings were very small? Our spatial rings are only as big as a house. If we put such a large bed in, we wouldn't need to bring anything else. Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue with resentment. The general's young master was so good. His spatial ring was definitely a few times bigger than his own. "Aren't these spatial rings the same size?" Sima Yue asked. Fatty Chu rolled his eyes at Sima Yue and said, "How can spatial rings be the same size? A normal spatial ring is only 1 or 2 cubic meters in size. Mine is the size of a house. It's already considered very good." Hearing Fatty Chu's words, Sima Yue touched the spatial ring on her hand. Sima Lai had given it to her after she was able to cultivate. He said that her father had left it for her and she had been using it ever since. Looking at the spatial ring that was as big as a luxurious villa, she didn't dare to imagine what rank her father had left behind. "All right, stop complaining." Sima Yue said, "When there's a chance in the future, I'll get you a big one. Let's go see how Ouyang and the others are doing." When they went out, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei were already sitting in the middle of the campsite and chatting. The place they chose was filled with tall trees. The branches and leaves on the top were dense, but there were very few tree trunks on the bottom. It looked more spacious. Those mercenaries had also tidied up their campsite and were eating dinner in 2s and 3s. "Yue, you're done tidying up?" Wei Ziqi waved at Sima Yue. Sima Yue sized up those mercenaries. The youth who had spoken before felt her gaze and turned his head to smile at her before turning back to talk to his teammates. Sima Yue and the others chatted for a while before the youth stood up and walked over. Facing the 5 of them, he cupped his hands and said, "I am Wuxia from the Green Mountain Mercenary Group. Is this your first time coming to Puluo Mountain Range?" "Yes." "Does young Master Qing have any business with us?" Wei Ziqi returned the greeting. "Looks like I guessed correctly." Qing Wuya said with a smile, "I just saw that you guys had set up camp for so long and had yet to eat dinner. I wanted to remind you that because there are more trees in the mountains, the sky gets dark earlier. So you guys can eat dinner earlier to avoid getting dark at night. Many thanks for young Master Qing's reminder. Wei Ziqi said with a smile. You're welcome. We mercenaries don't have the habit of being polite. If you don't mind, you can call me Big Brother Qing. What, young Master Qing? I'm not used to it. Qing Wuya scratched the back of his head. Big Brother Qing. If Big Brother Qing has the time, why don't we sit down and chat? Wei Ziqi said as he took out a chair from his spatial ring. Qing Wuya recognized that Wei Ziqi's spatial ring was not simple. It was definitely not something that an ordinary person could afford. Seeing that he had taken out a chair, he smiled and said, Sure. Big Brother Qing, do you guys come to Puluo Mountain Range often? Wei Ziqi asked. That's right. Puluo Mountain Range can be said to be the place that we mercenaries come to the most. Young Master Qing replied. Then you guys should be more familiar with this place? Then can you tell us more about the situation here? Wei Ziqi asked with a smile. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi. This guy was handsome and had a warm smile. He also knew how to talk, giving people a kind of cultured and refined feeling. It made people unconsciously feel close to him. This kind of closeness was different from the closeness that came from her own spirit pearl. It was more of a personal charm. Chapter 72. Qing Wuya nodded his head and said, That's fine, there are some places in the Puluo Mountain Range that are relatively dangerous. Telling you will save you the trouble of rushing in. /////. You guys continue chatting, I'll go and cook, Sima Yue said as she got up from the stool. What Qing Wuya said was right, the sky did indeed get dark earlier in the mountains, so dinner had to be eaten earlier. Everyone knew that she had a picky taste. As long as she had time, she would not eat dry food. Therefore, everyone was lucky to follow her. She came to an open space and took out all the cooking utensils, pots, bowls, ladles, and basins. The Green Mountain mercenaries were stunned. TSK looks like he's from a big family. He even brought these things when he went out. A mercenary sighed as he looked at the Sima Yue guy. Of course. You can tell from the way they're dressed that they're not ordinary people. How big is this spatial ring? Alright, stop being envious. Let's drink. Sima Yue didn't care about the envy she had caused. She took out some dishes from her soul pearl and started to cook dinner. Qing Wuya was also shocked by Sima Yue's actions. This was the first time he met someone who even brought along a cooking utensil. Big Brother Qing, don't be so surprised. She is rather picky about what she eats and doesn't like to eat dry rations. Wei Ziqi said, Just now you said that there have been a lot of people coming to Puluo Mountain Range recently? Qing Wuya shifted his gaze away from Sima Yue's chef and nodded. That's right, this is something I discovered recently. Our Green Mountain Mercenary Group can be considered as one of the top mercenary groups in Yen City. We often go in and out of this Puluo Mountain Range. As long as there is even the slightest abnormality here, we will be able to see it. Although Puluo Mountain Range has always had a lot of people, but in the last half-month, the number of people coming here has increased by a lot. Moreover, many of them are from big clans. Why are there suddenly so many people? Fatty Chu asked curiously. At first we didn't know either. Later we accidentally heard some people say that some treasure seemed to have appeared, or some rare medicinal herb had matured. We don't know what it is exactly. Qing Wuya shrugged and said, Because it doesn't have much to do with us, we didn't pay much attention to it. Big Brother Qing is not interested in that thing? Wei Ziqi asked. It's not a matter of interest, but that thing is said to be either in the inner circle or somewhere close to the inner circle. That's not a place we dare to go. That's why we should listen to it. Qing Wuya said, Brother Wei, don't be fooled by the name of that treasure. Although the treasure is good, you still need to be alive to enjoy it. We understand this logic. Wei Ziqi laughed. The inner region was the place where the saint beasts lived. Although the few of them were quite strong compared to their peers, they were not considered experts in the outside world. They did not have the guts to fight with the saint beasts. Sima Yue was cooking while listening to Qing Wuya's advice on what to pay attention to. When she heard him say treasure, her hands paused. Treasures, she loved them the most. If she had the chance, she would go and see them alone. Soon, a table full of dishes was prepared. The aroma wafted through the forest, attracting the attention of many people. Brother Sima's cooking is really fragrant. Qing Wuya smelled the aroma and could not help but praise. Thank you Big Brother Qing for telling us about the Puluo Mountain Range. Since everyone is chatting so well, why don't we have a drink together? Wei Ziqi said. This isn't too good, right? Qing Wuya was a little embarrassed. There's a lot of food. Big Brother Qing, let's eat together. Sima Yue said with a smile. This Qing Wuya was not bad and the things he had just said were very useful to them. Inviting him to eat and drink together was not a big deal. Let's go, big brother Qing. Yuyu's cooking is very good. If we wanted to eat outside we wouldn't be able to. Let's go and have a few drinks. Wei Ziqi said. Since you've said so, then Wuya will disturb you. Qing Wuya smiled and cupped his hands. His impression of Wei Ziqi and the others was not bad. Although he could see that their identities were not ordinary, they did not have the arrogance of those big families. Sima Yuyue's cooking was naturally good for everyone to eat and drink. After eating, Qing Wuya was still lamenting that this was the best thing he had ever eaten. After dinner, the sky was about to turn dark. Qing Wuya also returned to his own mercenary group. Sima Yuyue and Bei Gong Tang cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks, bringing them to a nearby stream to wash. We'll be entering the mountain tomorrow. Everyone should rest early. I'll keep watch tonight. When they returned, Ouyang Fei said, No need. You should go and sleep too. Leave the night watch to Little Roar. Sima Yue looked at Little Roar who was hugging a chicken drumstick and munching on it with relish. Ouyang Fei glanced at Little Roar and knew how powerful he was. He did not fight to keep watch and nodded to everyone before returning to his own tent. Good night everyone. Wei Ziqi said as he also returned. Good night. Sima Yue returned to her own tent and sat cross-legged on the bed. Little Roar hugged a chicken drumstick and flew in. Little Roar, be careful tonight. No problem. Don't worry and sleep. Little Roar took a bite of the drumstick and said. Sima Yue nodded but did not sleep. Instead, she closed her eyes and transferred all her mental energy into her sea of consciousness. There, the Imperial Beast art and art of training soul quietly floated in mid-air. Her mental energy transformed into a miniature human and flew in front of the Imperial Beast art, reaching out her hand to pick it up. The Imperial Beast art did not have many words. It mainly talked about how to tame spirit beasts and how to form a contract. Looking at it, Sima Yue knew that the different forms of contracts had different results. Contracts were generally divided into life contracts, soul contracts and master and servant contracts. Life contracts, as the name suggests, involved both parties in life and death. If one party died, the other party would also die. This was the most common form of contract. Sima Yue and that unknown Dan Dan had a life contract. A soul contract was a form of contract between two souls. This type of contract, even if the person died, as long as the soul was still there, the spirit beast would not die. Just like the contract between Little Roar and her. In a master and servant contract, the person was the master and the spirit beast was the servant. This type of contract, even if the spirit beast died, the master would not die. At most, the master would lose some strength. This type of contract was the most unacceptable for spirit beasts. Normally, a life contract and a soul contract could only form one. That was why when the egg felt Sima Yue and Little Roar's soul contract, it chose the life contract. Now, people only knew about life contracts and master and servant contracts. Very few people knew about the soul contract. In addition, contracts were closely related to a person's mental energy. The stronger the mental energy, the more spirit beasts one could form contracts with. Normal spirit masters could only form a contract with one spirit beast. Those who were stronger could form a contract with a second spirit beast. For Sima Yue to be able to form a contract with 3 spirit beasts, with her current strength, she was already a pervert among perverts. This book came from Chapter 73. After she finished reading The Art of Taming Beast, she realized that the method wasn't difficult at all. She didn't know how it had been lost. At the end of the book, it said that the level of the tamed spirit beast was also linked to the spiritual force required. The higher the level of the spirit beast, the stronger the spiritual force required. This was similar to alchemy. Sigh, looks like I still have to improve my mental strength first. Sima Yue sighed. Previously, she only thought that cultivating spiritual power was important. She did not expect that the cultivation of the soul and spiritual power were equally important. She put down The Art of Taming Beast and walked to the front of The Art of Refining Soul. She took down the book and the silver light on the book disappeared, allowing her to see the book in its entirety. She gently flipped to the first page, and a sentence on it made her heart tremble violently. The highest level of soul refining allows one's soul to exist outside one's body. Sima Yue muttered these words and thought of Mo Shana's transparent and illusory soul. Is it because he cultivated this that his soul is able to exist in this world? Looks like this soul refining art is really something. As he continued to read, he found that some of the levels of soul refinement were mentioned. The beginning was the small success stage, followed by the deity transformation stage, followed by the void refinement stage, and finally the Mahayana stage. The strength of the soul was expressed through the spiritual power. When one's mental power reached a certain range, they would be able to sense things within a kilometer around them. In the divinity transformation stage, one's spiritual energy could be condensed into a concrete shape outside of his body. At the void refinement realm, the second form of the mental power was condensed. At the Mahayana realm, one's soul would be able to transcend. Every stage had a huge gap between them, and every time they crossed a level there would be huge gains. Sima Yue took a look at it. At the beginning it was relatively simple. There were only a few chances to cultivate the soul, and then there were some methods to increase one's mental strength. It seems that soul refining and spiritual energy are closely related, and both are indispensable. No wonder Mo Sha said that after refining my soul, my mental strength would also increase. Sighing, she exited her sea of consciousness and began to practice according to the chants in the book. Time flew by when one was cultivating. When Sima Yue was awakened from her cultivation state by Little Roar, the sky was already bright. He didn't expect that he had unknowingly cultivated for an entire night. Moreover, he felt refreshed and didn't feel the slightest bit tired from not sleeping for an entire night. Looks like I can practice this if I have nothing to do at night. She got down from the bed, tidied her clothes, and put away the things in the tent into her spatial ring. Then she put away the tent as well. Brother Sima, you're up too. Jianghu saw that Sima Yue had finished packing and greeted him with a smile. Morning, big brother Qing. Sima Yue smiled and nodded at him, then went to the stream to wash up. When she came back, she took out the pots and pans to make breakfast. When she was making breakfast, Bei Gong Tang and the others also woke up one after another. They packed their own things and waited for breakfast. Brother Wei, we are going to enter the mountains. Remember what I told you last night? Don't go to any dangerous places. Qing Wuya said to Wei Ziqi after they had finished packing up. Big brother Qing wants to enter the mountains so early? Wei Ziqi said as he looked at the mercenary group that was already fully equipped. Our mission this time is rather important, but time is rather tight, so we have to go in earlier. Qing Wuya replied. If that's the case, then I hope Big Brother Qing can complete the mission as soon as possible. Wei Ziqi said. Thank you, Brother Wei. See you next time. See you next time. Qing Wuya cupped his hands towards Sima Yue and the others, then returned to his own group and said, Let's go. Fatty Chu watched Qing Wuya and the others leave and said, This Green Mountain mercenary group is not bad. They're all right. They're much better than the ones we met before. Let's eat. Sima Yue placed the food on the table and called out to everyone. Unlike the Green Mountain mercenary group who were in a rush, Sima Yue and the others ate breakfast before heading into the mountains. This time, they had to collect a few types of medicinal ingredients and each person had to hand over a spirit beast corpse. The mission was very important. With Sima Yue around, the task of finding medicinal ingredients became much easier. Because she was familiar with the attributes of the medicinal ingredients and knew what kind of environment they grew in, the scope of the search was much smaller. A day later they found their first medicinal ingredient. Yue, I didn't think that you would be so familiar with medicinal ingredients. Wei Ziqi looked at the medicinal ingredients lying in the box and sighed. That's right, Yue. How come we didn't know that you were so familiar with medicinal ingredients? Fatty Chu said. It's not like you're with me 24/7. How would you know everything that I know? Sima Yue glanced at Fatty Chu and did not answer their question directly. Right now, we found the Earth's core grass as well as the flame grass and the other 4 medicinal ingredients. Ouyang Fei said. I know about the flame grass. It grows in places that face the sun. However, the flame grass will always be guarded by stronger spirit beasts. Bei Gong Tang furrowed her eyebrows and said. I suggest that we look for the flame grass last. Let's look for the other medicinal ingredients first. Wei Ziqi said. Agreed. Sima Yue nodded. The spirit beasts around Puluo mountain range are not high-ranked. If we meet them we can also practice. Good. Then let's continue looking. Wei Ziqi said. They left the valley and not long after, another group of people arrived at the place they were at. Boss, that group of people doesn't have any pattern at all. We can't set a trap. One of them said. Even if there's no way we still have to think of a way. The black-clothed man said. She caused Nalan Lan to be expelled from the academy. I definitely have to take revenge for her. Boss, we can't just directly act against them. What should we do? Another person asked. The black-clothed man was silent for a while before saying, didn't they say that they wanted to look for spirit beasts to practice? We'll find them a target to practice on. If they're killed by the spirit beasts in the mountain range, the academy won't blame us. But boss, I heard that those people's ranks are relatively high. Other than that trash Sima Yue, the others are not worse than us. How can we make them be killed by the spirit beasts? I have my ways. Do you know where there are spirit beasts that live in groups? The black-clothed man said. Boss, I know. I've heard a mercenary mention it before. That's good. Let's go. We'll find them a spirit beast to practice on. Sima Yue's group of 5 searched the mountain for an entire day. They didn't find anything, but in the process of searching, they met a 6th-level spirit beast. They worked together and quickly killed it, allowing Sima Yue to keep it. As for why she was the one to keep it, it was because her spatial ring was the largest. Just as they were resting, Sima Yue suddenly felt a sense of danger and subconsciously stood up. Yue, what's wrong? Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue's nervous expression and asked. There's movement. Sima Yue said. Before the others could speak, they heard a flurry of footsteps. Following that, a pack of flame wolves appeared in everyone's line of sight and quickly ran towards them. So many spirit beasts. Fatty Chu saw so many flame wolves and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Chapter 74. Not only Fatty Chu, Bei Gong Tang and the others were also stunned by the horde of beasts. Help! As the beasts got closer, Sima Yue and the rest saw a figure running in front of the beasts. Awoo! The wolf pack's wild howls made the man shudder. However, when he saw Sima Yue and the rest, he gritted his teeth and ran towards them. Sima Yue saw that person running towards them and immediately reacted. She shouted and ran, pulling Bei Gong Tang who was beside her and ran towards the back. Hearing her shout, Wei Ziqi and the rest finally reacted. They didn't even have the time to pack their things before running away. Help! Friends in front, help! That person shouted when he saw Sima Yue and the rest running away. Save your sister. Sima Yue scolded as she pulled Bei Gong Tang to speed up. However, the 5 of them had limited leg strength, so how could they outrun the flame wolf? Seeing the spirit beast getting closer and closer, as well as the black-clothed man, Fatty Chu cursed, F***, how can this guy run so fast? Soon, the man who was being chased by the fire wolves caught up with them. Seeing the wolf cub in his arms, Sima Yue finally understood why he was being chased all over the mountain by the fire wolves. Mother F***, why are you hugging the wolf pup? Give it back to him. That person seemed to have regained his senses after hearing Sima Yue's words. He lowered his head and looked at the wolf cub in his arms. He threw the wolf cub into Fatty Chu's arms and ran off in another direction. F***, are you trying to kill me? Fatty Chu subconsciously caught the wolf cub. By the time he understood what was going on, that person had already disappeared. Sima Yue watched as that person quickly ran out of their line of sight, and her eyes flashed with suspicion. Fatty Chu, why are you still hugging the wolf pup? Quickly throw it away. Wei Ziqi shouted. Fatty Chu hurriedly threw the wolf cubs away, but other than 1 or 2 who ran to the wolf cubs, the rest continued to chase after them. We can't run anymore. Looks like we can only fight them head-on. Ouyang Fei saw that the wolves were still chasing after him. He took out his weapon and turned around to kill the wolves. The others also understood that the pack of wolves had set their sights on them. No matter how long they ran, they would not give up. Moreover, they had been running for so long that their physical strength was somewhat exhausted. When their last bit of strength was exhausted, it would be easy for the wolf pack to kill them. Sima Yue wasn't too worried about the wolves behind her. Little Roar and Ye Guang could easily intimidate them, but she didn't plan to do so. If he had gotten used to relying on his contracted beast from the very beginning, it would have been impossible for him to become stronger in the future. Let's go all out. Wei Ziqi also stopped in his tracks and called out his contracted spirit beast to battle with the flame wolf. I'm not running anymore, damn it. Fatty Chu also called out his own spirit beast, took out his axe and chopped towards the flame wolf. Bei Gong Tang didn't call out her own spirit beast, only stopping in her tracks. She condensed a spirit ball in her hands and threw it towards the flame wolf. Sima Yue took a look. Ouyang Fei's spirit beast was a 9th level low spirit beast, Cloud Leopard. It looked like it was about to become a holy beast. Fatty Chu's spirit beast was a 7th level low spirit beast, Charm Fox. That fox's figure was much smaller than the flame wolf, but its battle prowess wasn't weak at all. Although Wei Ziqi's spirit beast's rank wasn't as high as Ouyang Fei's, it was still a rare fire lizard. With a sweep of its tail, a flame wolf was sent flying. Sima Yu took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and leapt in front of a flame wolf. Just as it was about to pounce on her, Sima Yu quickly stabbed the dagger in between its eyebrows and pulled it out before it could even react. Ouyang Fei and the others didn't think that Sima Yu would be able to kill a wolf so quickly and looked at her in shock. The space between the eyebrows and 3 inches below the neck are the weakest parts of the flame wolf. Attacking these 2 places is the most effective. Sima Yu said. How did you know? Although the timing wasn't right, Fatty Chu still asked. Teacher talked about it in class. Sima Yu said. Everyone then came to a realization. It seemed that when the teacher was talking about the spirit beasts in the Puluo mountain range, he had indeed talked about it. However, everyone didn't really pay attention. If it wasn't for her reminder, they wouldn't have remembered that there was such a lesson. This speed needs to be fast. Otherwise we will be injured by the pack of wolves. Ouyang Fei said. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong are stronger in close combat. The 3 of us will be in charge of close combat. Ziqi and Fatty Chu, the 2 of you will mainly use your spiritual energy to attack. Sima Yu said, we are now a team. If we want to charge out alive, we need to work hard together. Everyone looked at the pack of wolves surrounding them and nodded their heads, acknowledging Sima Yu's words. Ziqi, Fatty Chu, we will be on the outside. You guys will be in the middle. Try to condense your spiritual energy as quickly as possible. If one of us is attacked, the 2 of you will be in danger. Ouyang Fei warned. You guys can relax. Fatty Chu promised. Sima Yu looked at Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi and said seriously, in the past I rarely trusted my back to others because it was a very dangerous thing to do. Today the 3 of us will entrust our backs to you guys. You guys have to guard it for us. When Wei Ziqi and the other 3 heard Sima Yu's words, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. What she said was right. In the past they were all lone wolves. Even in their own families they didn't trust anyone to entrust their backs to. However, today they had exposed their backs in front of them because they had no choice and because they trusted them. You guys can relax. We are a team. We will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to. Wei Ziqi said emotionally. Yes, we will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to. Fatty Chu said with certainty. Sima Yu smiled faintly and said, that's good. Let's start the battle. Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei looked at each other and saw the thick fighting spirit in each other's eyes, as well as the camaraderie that was born in this difficult situation. Charge. Ouyang Fei was still the first to rush to the front of the wolf pack. Sima Yu and Bei Gong Tang also followed closely behind. The 3 of them and the 3 spirit beasts unknowingly formed an encirclement, surrounding Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi in the middle, giving them enough time to condense their spirit chi. As for Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi, they condensed spirit balls. Seeing who was in danger or who was having a hard time fighting, they threw the spirit balls in that direction. Sometimes they would directly throw their spirit chi balls into the wolf pack's ranks, causing them to howl in pain. Half an hour later, because there were too many casualties, the leader of the flame wolves unwillingly led his subordinates and ran away with their tails between their legs. Once the wolf pack left, everyone collapsed to the ground. Their bodies were covered in wounds that were still bleeding. The battle just now had already exhausted their strength. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi also chose to directly fight the wolf pack after their spirit chi was exhausted. Sima Yu took out a medicine bottle and ate a pill before passing the jade bottle to Bei Gong Tang. Bei Gong Tang poured out 4 pills for everyone to eat. We have to leave this place now. The commotion just now and the smell of blood might attract other spirit beasts. Seeing that everyone was exhausted, Sima Yu went up and kept all the corpses of the flame wolves into her spatial ring. Chapter 75. Just as Sima Yu and the rest were fighting with the wolf pack, the man who attracted the wolf pack quickly ran across the mountain and ran towards another mountain. He soon met up with his teammates. Huang Si, how was it? The person who had been waiting at the original spot saw that his teammate had returned and asked. When I ran, the wolves had already surrounded Sima Yu and the rest. Huang Si removed a piece of paper with strange runes drawn on it from his body and handed it over to the black-clothed man, saying, Boss, what is this? After I put it on, my speed increased a lot. It's as if these legs don't belong to me. Don't ask what it is. The black-clothed man took back the talisman and said, have those wolves really surrounded them? It's really boss. Huang Si guaranteed, there are 30 to 40 flame wolves. Even if their strength is not weak, it is impossible for them to fight against so many flame wolves. That's good. The black-clothed man said, even though they won't be able to live, it's still a great pity that I can't personally end that trash's life. Boss, should we go take a look at how they died? Huang Si asked. Not going. The boss shook his head and said, if we encounter a pack of wolves, we will be in trouble. Moreover, the smell of blood can easily attract nearby spirit beasts. Since we know that they won't be able to survive, there's no need for us to put ourselves in danger. Boss is right. We have our own mission here. Now that we've taken care of Sima Yue, it's time for us to complete our mission. Let's go. After the black-clothed boss finished speaking, he led his team members towards another mountain. On the other side, Ouyang Fei and the others kept their contracted beasts back into the contract space and helped each other out of the forest. After walking for a while, they arrived at a river. Seeing the empty space beside the river, Sima Yue said, this place is far enough from the battlefield. Let's clean our wounds here. All right. Wei Ziqi helped Fatty Chu sit down on a large rock by the riverside, and he himself also sat down by the side. Although they had taken the pills given by Sima Yue, the effect of the level 1 healing pills was slow and not very effective. It was impossible for their wounds to heal in a short time. Ouyang Fei came to the riverside and took off his shirt to wash the wounds on his upper body. Sima Yue glanced at him and realized that there were many scars on his body. Sima Yue took out a basin and went to the riverside to fill it with water. She came to Fatty Chu's side and reached out to take off his clothes. Yue, what are you doing? When Fatty Chu saw Sima Yue taking off his clothes, he subconsciously screamed and covered his chest with his hands. Sima Yue was speechless. Why was this guy overreacting? If you feel that pulling at your wound doesn't hurt, I don't mind you continuing to hug me like this. As she spoke, she glanced at the wound on Fatty Chu's body. After hearing her words, Fatty Chu finally remembered the injuries on his body. Just now when he moved, his wounds hurt even more and he couldn't help but cry out. Sima Yue pulled his hand down and cut his clothes with a pair of scissors, revealing the wounds on his shoulders and back. Of course, that pair of scissors was unwillingly transformed by Ling Long. She really couldn't understand why her master would make her transform into such weird and useless weapons. For convenience, Sima Yue cut off all of Fatty Chu's clothes and took out a piece of cotton cloth. She dipped it in the basin of water and washed the blood off the wounds. After that, she took out a bottle of medicinal powder and sprinkled it evenly on his wounds. Finally, she used a strip of cloth to bandage his wounds. Wei Ziqi came back from the riverside after washing the blood off his body. Seeing Sima Yue's skillful movements, he teased, I didn't think that Yue would be so skillful at bandaging wounds. I used to get injured often. Sima Yue replied. She was referring to her past life when she was an assassin. However, Fatty Chu and the rest understood that she used to be beaten up by the people around Murong and, Yue, don't worry. In the future, if anyone dares to beat you up, Fatty Chu, will be the first to stop them. Fatty Chu looked at the strip of cloth on his arm and said. Sima Yue smiled and went behind him. She sprinkled the medicinal powder on his back and carefully bandaged it. It's done. Sima Yue finished tying the knot and said, this medicinal powder is very useful for treating wounds. When used together with pills, the effect is even better. Ouyang, you guys have wounds on your bodies too. I'll bandage them for you too. I'll do it myself. Ouyang Fei wasn't used to others touching his body, so he took the bottle of medicine from Sima Yue and bandaged his own wounds. However, because one of the wounds was on his arm, he had no choice but to let her help. When Sima Yue finished bandaging Wei Ziqi and Bei Gongtang's wounds, Fatty Chu suddenly thought of something and looked at Sima Yue strangely. What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? Sima Yue was a little scared by Fatty Chu's gaze. Yue, we're all injured, but you're not. Fatty Chu said. When he said this, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei also thought of something. They were all injured, but Sima Yue wasn't injured at all. Cough cough this. Sima Yue didn't know how to reply and pretended to cough twice. Haha, we were worried that you would be in danger when you came to the mountain. So you're the one who hid your strength well. Wei Ziqi suddenly laughed and said. Hee hee. Sima Yue rubbed her nose and laughed. You're very strong. Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue and said. During the battle, he realized that Sima Yue was fast and accurate every time she killed the flame wolves. Although she knew the weaknesses of the flame wolves, This was inseparable from her strength. Today's matter, I keep feeling that something is wrong, Bei Gongtang said. You realized it too? Ouyang Fei looked at Bei Gongtang. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who realized that something was wrong. What's wrong? Fatty Chu looked at the few of them, puzzled. Everything is wrong, Wei Ziqi said. Ah, what? Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu's puzzled expression and said, don't you think that person's appearance is very strange? What's strange about that person? Fatty Chu asked. Sima Yue looked at him with disdain. She had already said so much, but this guy still didn't understand. Fatty Chu, that person today seems to have the same strength as us. He might even be weaker than us. But why would he come to the dangerous Puluo mountain range alone? Where are his companions? Wei Ziqi explained patiently. Fatty Chu blinked his eyes and said, hearing you say that, it's a little strange. That's not the only strange thing. Sima Yue smiled faintly, a cold glint in her eyes. Chapter 76. What else is strange? Fatty Chu asked. Fatty, didn't you notice? Before that person came to us, his speed was about the same as a pack of wolves. But after he threw the wolf pup to you, his speed suddenly increased a lot. Soon he was out of sight. Don't you think it's strange that there's such a big difference in speed? Sima Yu said, look at him before, isn't it more like he's luring the wolf pack to us? You're saying that person intentionally lured the wolves to our place? Is that person trying to harm us? Fatty Chu cried out in shock. Sima Yue gave him a you're not stupid expression. *CK, who is that person? Why does he want to harm us? Fatty Chu shouted. No matter who it is, they will find out eventually. There's no point in guessing here. Ouyang Fei said. Yes, it's useless to think about it now. Since he's still in the mountains, there's a chance we'll meet him again. Wei Ziqi said, today, everyone is tired and injured. I feel that we should just set up camp and rest. All right. The 5 of them rested for a day. During this time, many people passed by the place where they had set up camp. Yue, look, it's another large group of disciples. Fatty Chu sat beside Sima Yue and said as he looked at another group of people passing by. Sima Yue did not have a good impression of those arrogant people. But speaking of which, Ziqi is also a member of a large family clan. Why isn't he like these people who have their noses in the air? Fatty Chu asked suspiciously. Aren't you the same? Fatty Chu said with a smile. How can my clan compare to your Wei clan? Fatty Chu shook his head. Hey, speaking of which, we still don't know Ouyang and Beigong's clans. It seems so. Wei Ziqi nodded in agreement. When they first got to know each other, Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang did not mention anything about themselves. However, they were not familiar with each other at that time, so they did not ask in detail. Later on, when everyone became familiar with each other, he forgot to ask. Ouyang Fei shrugged and said, I have no relatives. I'm an orphan. He said it casually, but Sima Yue could feel the hatred in his words. I only have a mother and a younger brother, but they are in a place very far away. When Bei Gongtang said this, her eyes were blurred as she looked at the sky. Her body emitted pain and resentment. Sima Yue looked at the two of them and frowned. It seemed like the two of them had a story that no one knew about. Wei Ziqi patted Ouyang Fei's shoulder and said, It's all right. In the future we will be your family. That's right, we're from the same courtyard and we're also a team. In the future we'll all be your family. Fatty Chu added. Ouyang Fei turned his head and saw the sincerity in Wei Ziqi's and Fatty Chu's eyes. All right, we're all brothers from now on. Yes, brother. Fatty Chu stood up and sat beside Ouyang Fei as they clapped their hands. The friendship between men was actually very pure. As long as I recognized you, you would be my brother. After a few months of interaction, Ouyang Fei also knew their characters and slowly accepted them. His cold heart was also warmed up bit by bit. Sima Yue smiled as she looked at the 3 of them and said, Hey, count me in. Haha, we won't forget about you. Fatty Chu said with a big laugh. Bei Gongtang looked at the happy and harmonious people and loneliness flashed across her eyes. As if she couldn't stand the scene in front of her, she stood up and left. What's wrong with Bei Gong? Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their eyes filled with confusion. I'll go and see her. Sima Yue stood up and walked in the direction that Bei Gongtang left. Bei Gongtang came to the side of the river and stared blankly at the surface of the river. When she heard movement behind her, she turned her head and saw Sima Yue. She asked, Why are you here? I should be the one asking you this. Why did you run out alone? Sima Yue came to Bei Gong Tang's side and kicked a stone into the river, causing ripples. What's wrong with me? Bei Gong Tang shook her head. You're purposely distancing yourself from everyone, Sima Yue said. Bei Gong Tang was stunned and denied, I'm not. You are. Sima Yue looked at Bei Gong Tang. We've known each other for a few months now and you've always kept a distance from everyone. Just now you left because you saw Ouyang Fei and Ziqi, right? Bei Gong Tang didn't speak and only stared at the surface of the river. You're worried, right? Sima Yue continued, worried about your mother and brother. Hearing Sima Yue's words, Bei Gong Tang's aura immediately changed. She looked at her warily and asked coldly, Who are you? Sima Yue wasn't frightened by her and smiled, You don't have to be nervous. I don't know where your house is and I don't know what you've been through. I don't even know why you're so sensitive. I just saw the worry in your eyes. Really? Sima Yue shrugged. I'm considered a household name in the capital, although my reputation isn't very good. My whereabouts have never been a secret. Bei Gong Tang stared at her for a while before she thought of something and turned to look at the river. Although she didn't say anything, she wasn't as cold as before. Sima Yue saw this and knew that she wasn't so guarded against her. She pursed her lips and said, Although I used to be alone, I recently realized that it's not bad to be with someone. No matter how you were in the past or what you'll encounter in the future, we're all together at this stage. Don't forget that we're comrades who fought side by side. We're now people who can trust each other with our backs. If you want to find someone to talk to, we'll always be here. Bei Gong Tang nodded, indicating that she understood. All right, let's go back. They saw you leave without a word and were all worried about you. Sima Yue patted Bei Gong Tang's shoulder and said. When they returned to the campsite, Wei Ziqi and the others heaved a sigh of relief and started to chat. Although Bei Gong Tang didn't interrupt much, she would occasionally reply to what they said. Sima Yue looked at the few of them and realized that the battle this time had brought them closer. If they were a team in the past, they were now comrades who fought together. At night, everyone returned to their own tents to rest. Bei Gong Tang laid on her small bed and dozed off. Her eyes suddenly opened and were filled with uncontrollable joy. Mengji, you're awake? Master, I was injured too badly last time. I'm only awake temporarily. A female voice sounded in Bei Gong Tang's mind. Mengji, you were injured to this extent because you wanted to protect me when I left. It's already been so many years and you still need to rely on sleep to recover. Bei Gong Tang blamed herself. Master, you don't have to blame yourself. Protecting you is what I should do. Mengji said. Master, I didn't wake up for long this time. I'll tell you the reason why I woke up. I feel that there's a medicine in the mountains that's about to mature. If I can take it, I'll be completely healed. Master, if it's possible. Mengji's voice became softer and softer. She didn't even finish speaking before she fell asleep again. Mengji, since that medicine is good for your injuries, I'll definitely get it for you. Bei Gong Tang tightened her grip on her clothes when she thought of the unconscious Mengji. Chapter 77. At the same time, in Sima Yue's tent, she was surprised to see Emo Sha come out. I didn't call you. How did you come out? I can enter and exit this spirit pearl as I wish, unless your strength is higher than mine. Emo Sha said. All right. Sima Yue shrugged and said, What are you doing out here this time? Emo Sha looked towards the inner area and said, I smell something. Taste? What was that smell? Why can't I smell anything? Sima Yue sniffed hard but did not find anything special. It's far from here. How could you smell it now? Emo Sha said. What is it that attracted you here? Sima Yue asked curiously. Golden snake fruit. What? When Sima Yue heard about the golden snake fruit, the first thing that came to her mind was the bright red apple-like fruit on Earth in her previous life. However, she knew that it was definitely not an ordinary thing. Then, the information about the golden snake fruit appeared in his mind. Last time, she had seen it in a medical book in the Soul Pearl. The golden snake fruit was a kind of golden yellow fruit. It took 700 years to bloom, 700 years to bear fruit, and 700 years to mature. Each time, it would only bear 7 fruits. Eating the fruit directly could raise one's cultivation level. However, one could only eat the size of a fingernail at a time. Otherwise, there would be too much energy in one's body and it would be easy for one's meridians to explode. If it was refined into a pill, such a situation would not occur. However, this kind of pill would cost at least tens of thousands of gold coins. It was hundreds of times more precious than the pill she had eaten before, which cost dozens of gold coins per pill. Not only did the fruit have the effect of increasing one's strength, even the leaves and roots were treasures. Therefore, once the golden snake fruit was discovered, it would be the object that everyone would fight over. However, this golden snake fruit was not so easy to obtain. Not to mention the fact that there were spirit beasts guarding the area. Once the fruit ripened, its fragrance would spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. This was because this thing was not only useful to humans, but also to spirit beasts that consumed it. I didn't expect the golden snake fruit to be so attractive that even you are tempted. Sima Yue teased. It's not easy to find a heavenly treasure. Emo Sha didn't deny it. And this thing is also beneficial to you. What benefits? Raise my cultivation level? Sima Yue was excited when she heard that there were benefits. Emo Sha shook his head. Most people only know that it can raise one's cultivation, but very few people know that at the same time, it's also a great nourishment for the soul. Your soul was once seriously injured, and this will greatly affect your cultivation and alchemy in the future. If you can have the nourishment of the golden snake fruit tree, it will have a great effect on the recovery of your soul. Huh? It can even heal souls? Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha in shock. That's right. This golden snake fruit absorbs the moonlight and then transforms it in the body, emitting a milky white gas. This gas is beneficial to the human soul. Emo Sha explained, even if the soul isn't injured under its long-term nourishment, it will become even stronger. So good. It was indeed a treasure. I must get my hands on this thing. Sima Yue immediately sat up and looked at Emo Sha, who turned around to look at her. She smiled and said, I know you also want this thing to heal your soul. Otherwise, why would a guy who doesn't wake up early without benefits come out and tell me all this? I can feel that there's at least one spirit beast around the golden snake fruit. Emo Sha said, also when the golden snake fruit ripens, it will attract a large group of spirit beasts. Adding on the humans that have been attracted recently, it won't be easy to steal it. You will help me. Sima Yue said with certainty. You're quite confident. Emo Sha raised his eyebrows. Of course. Sima Yue said confidently, if this thing had nothing to do with you, perhaps you wouldn't make a move. However, your soul has left your body for who knows how many years, and your injuries aren't any lighter than mine. Although the spirit pearl can nourish you, the effects aren't fast. If you can add on the golden snake fruit tree, you can recover even faster. Therefore, you are also determined to obtain this golden snake fruit. I can't easily make a move. Emo Sha said. I know, you just have to make a move when necessary. Sima Yue waved her hand and said. This golden snake fruit is very picky about the environment it grows in. I don't know why it grew in a low-level world like the Yilin continent this time. Emo Sha said suspiciously. Who knows? Maybe it knows that you're useful to me, so it grew. Sima Yue said jokingly. Emo Sha's mouth twitched at her words, and he was too lazy to reply to her. He closed his eyes and sensed for a while, then opened them and said, the golden snake fruit still needs 20 days to ripen. It's best if you can go 2 days earlier to observe the situation. I understand. Sima Yue nodded. Seeing this, Emo Sha's body turned into a wisp of black smoke and returned to the spirit pearl. Sima Yue once again laid on the bed and muttered to herself, 20 days, I've already gathered enough spirit beast corpses. Now all that's left is to find the herbs. It should be done in half a month. However, the inner regions are so dangerous. When the time comes, it's better if I go by myself to prevent them from falling into danger. However, how do I make them leave? Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll think about it when the time comes. After thinking it through, Sima Yue closed her eyes and silently chanted the soul-refining art in her heart, beginning to cultivate her soul. After a day and night of recuperation, in addition to the effects of pills, Fatty Chu and the others' injuries were more or less healed. At the very least, there was no problem for them to rush on the road. Thinking that there were still a few herbs to find, everyone packed their things and set off on the second day. In order to seize the time, Sima Yue threw Little Roar out and got him to find a spirit beast that could talk and ask her where the herbs grew. She then brought everyone to pick them directly. Even so, they still spent 12 days to pick all the herbs. At the boundary between the inner and outer regions, Sima Yue and the others kept the flame grass in the valley into their own spatial rings. I really didn't expect that there would be so much flame grass here. Fatty Chu said happily, Bei Gong, didn't you say that there was danger near the flame grass? How come we didn't even find a single spirit beast? Bei Gongtang was also a little suspicious, saying, logically speaking there should be spirit beasts gathering here. How come there aren't any? They should have been attracted by the movements in the inner regions. Sima Yue said, we haven't met many spirit beasts these past few days. It's said that when a few heavenly treasures appear, it will cause a huge commotion. They probably went to join in the fun. So it's like that. Fatty Chu nodded his head, pretending to be serious. After harvesting all the aged flame grass, their mission this time could be considered to have been completed successfully. Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yue's back. He originally thought that bringing her along would be a burden, but he didn't expect that after coming here she would be the biggest help to everyone. Our mission has already been completed. When are we going back? Wei Ziqi asked. Hearing his words, Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang's bodies stiffened. Chapter 78. You guys can go back first. I want to stay in the mountain range for a few more days. Bei Gongtang spoke first. Why, Bei Gong, are you not leaving with us? Wei Ziqi asked. Bei Gongtang looked in the direction of the inner regions and said, I still have things to do. I won't be going with you guys. Bei Gong, this mountain is very dangerous. You're alone? Fatty Chu said worriedly. I have something that I must do. Bei Gongtang interrupted Fatty Chu. Sima Yue saw that Bei Gongtang's attitude was firm, and guessed that she should also want to snatch the golden snake fruit. From the looks of it she must have had her reasons. You want to seize that treasure? Yang Fei said. Really? Fatty Chu looked at Bei Gongtang and asked. Bei Gongtang was stunned for a moment. She did not think that Yang Fei would be able to guess it so quickly. She nodded and said, yes. Bei Gong, yesterday we heard from the passers-by that the treasure is in the inner regions. Let's not talk about how dangerous the inner regions are. During this period of time, many experts have come here. It's not like you don't know that if you want to snatch the treasure from their hands, you have to have the strength to do so. Wei Ziqi said seriously. I know. Bei Gongtang said, but I must obtain that thing. What? Yang Fei asked. Bei Gongtang was silent for a while before saying, I have my reasons. You guys go out first, don't wait for me. No, if you don't tell us the reason we won't let you go. Wei Ziqi said resolutely and decisively, we are comrades who have fought together. We will not leave you alone, nor will we let you take the risk alone. That's right, Bei Gong, we won't let you stay here alone. Fatty Chu agreed. Bei Gongtang was stunned when she heard this. She opened her mouth but nothing came out. Sima Yue came to Bei Gongtang's side and patted her shoulder saying, is your contracted beast injured? How did you know? Bei Gongtang was extremely shocked. This Sima Yue was always able to tell her true thoughts. I guessed, Sima Yue said. Bei Gong, is that really the case? Fatty Chu asked. Bei Gongtang nodded, saying, a few years ago I met with danger. In order to save me, my contracted beast suffered a very serious injury. All these years, it has been in deep sleep to heal. A few days ago he told me that if I could get that treasure he could wake up. She fell into a deep sleep to save me. Now that I know there's something that can heal her, I won't give up. After she finished speaking, everyone else fell silent. Sima Yue hugged her shoulder and said, I wanted to see the treasure myself. Since that's the case, I'll go with you. You also want to go? Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu called out at the same time. Even Yang Fei looked at the two of them in disagreement. That's right. Sima Yue nodded. I'll go with Bei Gong. You three can go first. Don't tell us to go back first. Fatty Chu said, if you want to go, I'll go with you. Wei Ziqi thought for a while and said, although I don't know what that thing is that it's so attractive to the two of you, since you want to go, count me in. One more person means one more strength. I won't leave alone either. Yang Fei said. You guys. Bei Gongtang looked at Wei Ziqi and the others. Seeing the smile on Sima Yue's face, she suddenly felt her nose sour. That warm feeling in her heart had not appeared for a long time. She always felt that she was not close to them, but she never thought that they would treat her like this. Alright, since everyone wants to go, the treasure won't just be for you. Sima Yue said with a smile when she saw how touched Bei Gongtang was. Yue, what do you mean? Fatty Chu asked. Since everyone has decided to go together, I'll explain the situation there to everyone. After I'm done, you guys can decide if you want to go or not. Sima Yue said. Yue, how did you know? Don't ask me how I know, just listen to what I have to say. Sima Yue said, "That treasure is the golden snake fruit that rarely appears in this world." "What kind of treasure is the golden snake fruit?" Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang were shocked, while Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were puzzled. Although Bei Gongtang knew that the treasure was not ordinary, she never thought that it would actually be the golden snake fruit. No wonder Meng Ji would wake up and tell her this. The golden snake fruit blossoms every 700 years, bears fruit every 700 years and ripens every 700 years. If the golden snake fruit is taken directly, it can raise a person's cultivation. The effect of refining it into a pill is even better, so it's a treasure that people and spirit beasts fight over. Sima Yue explained. "Damn, it's so powerful," Fatty Chu said in shock. "That's why it attracted so many treasures." Sima Yue said, "But now is not the time to discuss the value of the golden snake fruit. You guys also know that there will always be powerful spirit beasts by the side of treasures. This golden snake fruit is protected by a spirit beast." Spirit beast. The other four sucked in a breath. This spirit beast was an existence comparable to a spirit paragon. If it was placed in the continent, it would be a peak existence. If they wanted to snatch the 7 golden snake fruits from the spirit beast's mouth, the difficulty could be imagined. Not only that, Sima Yue continued to speak, when this golden snake fruit ripens, its fragrance will spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. Recently we have rarely met any powerful spirit beasts. Because the golden snake fruit is about to ripen, those spirit beasts have all gone to the inner regions. So other than that spirit beast, we may meet countless spirit beasts. Hiss, everyone had already been shocked speechless by her words. Also, Sima Yue looked at their expressions and wanted to tell them if what she said was correct. Also, there are those experts who have come to the mountain in the past month, right? Ouyang Fei said. Sima Yue nodded her head. They had been in the mountain for half a month and had seen many powers go to the inner regions. She did not need to say this, everyone understood. "Oh my god, this battle formation is too scary." Fatty Chu found his voice after a long time and sighed. "So you have to consider carefully whether you want to go or not." Sima Yue said, "Bei Gong and I have our reasons for not going, but you don't have to take the risk. After all, although that thing is good, it is also very dangerous." Hearing her words, Wei Ziqi and the others were silent for a while before saying seriously, "Since it's so dangerous, wouldn't it be more dangerous for you to go alone? Let's go together and take a look. If it's really impossible, don't force it. I promised young Master Yulu that I would take good care of you. If you don't go back, how can I go back?" Fatty Chu said. "I'm interested in that treasure," Ouyang Fei said. Bei Gongtang sniffled and suppressed her emotions. She looked at them and said, "No matter what the result is, Bei Gong will never forget your friendship. I want to go myself, so you don't have to count me in." Sima Yue said as she shrugged her shoulders. Seeing her shameless expression, Bei Gongtang smiled happily for the first time. Chapter 79. This was the first time everyone had seen Bei Gongtang smile. In the past she was always icy cold. This smile made people feel dazzled. Cough, cough. Wei Ziqi was the first to regain his senses. Pretending to cough twice, he said, "Where is this golden snake fruit? How long will it take to ripen? With so many people and spirit beasts eyeing it, should we come up with a countermeasure?" When Wei Ziqi said this, everyone's eyebrows furrowed. Just the thought of that divine beast was enough to give them a headache. On top of that, all the spirit beasts in the mountain range had been attracted over, as well as those who were eyeing them covetously. Without a plan, it would be very difficult for them to succeed. This golden snake fruit still has 7 days to mature. Let's first find the place and then check out the situation there. Let's think of a countermeasure later. Sima Yue said. "But where is the golden snake fruit? Which direction should we go?" Fatty Chu asked. "I know the general direction. If we go to the inner region, it should be easy to find that place." Sima Yue said. "Since that's the case, let's go check out the situation first." Ouyang Fei said. "Wait." Sima Yue called out to them. Seeing that they had turned around to look at her, she said, "The fire wolf's corpse has always been with me. I'll give it to you now. If we're forced to separate, you can take it back to complete the mission." As she spoke, she took out all the corpses of the fire wolves from her interspatial ring. She gave each of them a few corpses and put them into their own interspatial rings. Then they began their journey. Actually, Sima Yue didn't know the way either, but with Mo Sha giving them directions, they just needed to hurry. 3 days later, they arrived at the inner area of the mountain range where the golden snake fruit was located. Following the footprints left behind by those people, they arrived at a mountain. The golden snake fruit was in the middle of a cliff, more than 100 meters above the ground. The other slopes in the other directions were filled with people, while the valley was occupied by countless spirit beasts. Sima Yue and the rest came to an empty space. They were shocked when they saw the situation around them. So many people and spirit beasts. Wei Ziqi sighed. You want to snatch the golden snake fruit from the hands of so many people and spirit beasts? Ouyang Fei didn't finish his sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. That was simply impossible. No matter what, I won't give up so easily. Bei Gongtang clenched her fist and said, Is that the golden snake fruit? Fatty Chu pointed at the golden snake fruit tree in the middle of the cliff and asked, In such a high place, even if there is no one else wanting to pluck this golden snake fruit would not be easy. Wei Ziqi said, Although the cliff is high, it is not straight. There is a slope at the bottom. Sima Yue said after observing for a while. But a normal person wouldn't be able to climb up. At least we won't be able to climb up. Fatty Chu said. Right now, we can only see if we can take advantage of the chaos caused by the ripening of the golden snake fruit. Ouyang Fei said, Bei Gong, if it really doesn't work, I understand. Bei Gongtang nodded. If she really couldn't think of a way, she wouldn't force it. If he really lost his life because of this, then it really wasn't worth it. Moreover, she still had so many things waiting for her to do. I'm just afraid that taking advantage of the chaos won't be easy. Sima Yue rubbed her chin as she pondered. Looks like we really have to think of a way. Yue, look, isn't that the general? Fatty Chu suddenly pointed at a tent and said. Sima Yue looked over and sure enough, Sima Lai had brought a few people from the general's residence to set up camp on the hill opposite the golden snake fruit. Why is grandfather here? Seeing Sima Lai observing from outside the tent, she immediately hid behind Fatty Chu and said to the others, Anyway, there are still 4 days until the golden snake fruit ripens. Let's leave this place first. That's good too. If we stay here, I'm afraid that we will become a stumbling block for those powers. Wei Ziqi said. Nobody knew why Sima Yue didn't want to look for Sima Lai, but they really didn't have much use here, so they nodded and left together. The 5 of them avoided the others and quietly went down the mountain. They came to the mountaintop beside and found a place to rest. Yue, why did you run away when you saw the general and the others? Fatty Chu only asked the question in his heart after sitting down. If grandfather knew that we were here, he would definitely send people to bring us back. At that time, how would we be able to snatch the golden snake fruit? Sima Yue said. In the remaining 3 days, we can properly investigate the surrounding environment. Wei Ziqi said. That's good too. Right now, the spirit beast's attention is all on the golden snake fruit. The inner region is also much safer than usual. Bei Gongtang said. Since that's the case, then we... Sima Yue hadn't finished speaking when her expression suddenly changed and she said, You guys wait for me here. I'll leave for a while. Yue, where are you going? Although the inner region is safer than usual, it's still very dangerous to be alone. Fatty Chu said. Did something happen? Wei Ziqi asked. Little Roar just transmitted a message to me. It seems that he met with some trouble. Sima Yue said anxiously. Although Little Roar kept saying that he was an ancient spirit beast, he didn't have much battle strength now. If he were to fight with someone, it was unknown who would win. Furthermore, if he didn't meet with any danger, he wouldn't have called her so anxiously. Thinking of this, her heart burned with anxiety and she couldn't wait to rush over. We'll go with you. Bei Gongtang said. Sima Yue looked at everyone and saw that they were determined not to let her leave alone. She nodded her head and said, Ye Guang, bring us to find Little Roar. Just as everyone was wondering who Ye Guang was, a majestic iron-claw tiger appeared in front of everyone. Master, quickly come up. Ye Guang also felt that Little Roar was in danger and turned into his original form as he spoke. It can talk. It's another spirit beast? Looking at Ye Guang and then looking at Sima Yue, everyone was extremely shocked. They didn't think that other than Little Roar, she actually had another spirit beast. However, now wasn't the time to be shocked. Everyone quickly calmed themselves down and jumped onto Ye Guang's back. Ye Guang said, Hold on tight. Then he sped off. They followed Little Roar's senses and advanced. After half an hour, they finally arrived at Little Roar's location. However, what they saw was not a battle between spirit beasts, but a small cage. Little Roar and a small bird were lying down with their eyes listlessly. Their heads were drooping. One look and they knew that something was wrong. Ever since Little Roar woke up, Sima Yue had never seen him so listless. Seeing him like this, her heart ached. However, she was also vexed. Previously, she shouldn't have listened to Little Roar's words and allowed him to wander around the mountain. If not, he wouldn't have ended up like this. As if sensing Sima Yue's arrival, Little Roar, who was lying in the cage, suddenly looked towards the place where they were hiding. Just as she was about to go save Little Roar, the two people who were drinking in the middle started to talk about the spirit beasts they had captured. Sima Yue didn't think that they would bump into a huge conspiracy on this trip. Chapter 80. Hey, how many spirit beasts did we catch this time? A burly bearded man walked out of the tent and asked the two people sitting in the middle of the camp. Leader, we've already caught nearly 20 spirit beasts. 2 of them are even holy beasts that can speak. The 2 men stood up and said, "Oh, there are already close to 20 of them?" The bearded man said happily, "This time we can make a fortune, ha. Captain, your idea is really good. Those people are going to snatch the treasures, but we're going to stay here and hunt the spirit beasts." Those spirit beasts were all attracted by the treasures, and the ones that passed by were all drugged by the drugs we scattered, causing them to lose their ability to fight. If we sell these spirit beasts to those shops, we'll make a killing this time. The 2 of them excitedly asked their regiment commander for praise. The regiment commander glared at them and said, "What do you mean by selling to those shops? Stupid, we're going to sell these to the Beast Tamer Guild." Beast Tamers Guild? Humph, you 2 idiots. I have already discussed this with Master Go. We will sell the spirit beasts to them and the Beast Tamer Master Guild will tame 5 spirit beasts for free. The full bearded man said. Really? Wow, 5 tame spirit beasts. The 2 men shouted excitedly. You 2 keep your voices down. If others find out, I'll break your legs. The bearded man scolded. Hehe, as long as there is a tamed spirit beast, they can form a contract. It is inevitable that they are excited. A middle-aged man in a green robe came out of the tent and said with a smile, "Great Master Mu, why did you come out?" The fully bearded man looked at the green-robed man and said, "I came out to take a look at these spirit beasts that I just caught." Great Master Mu said, "These 2 were just caught." A man brought over the cage containing Little White and the Little Bird. The fully bearded man looked at Little Roar and Little Bird and furrowed his eyebrows as he said, "Why did we only catch 2 of these spirit beasts this time? Are they spirit beasts?" Captain Hao, don't be angry. Although I've never seen these 2 spirit beasts before. Master Mu suddenly widened his eyes and looked at the little bird in surprise. This is a 4-winged rock. It really is the 4-winged rock. Master Mu came to the side of the cage and looked at the listless bird excitedly. He wanted to reach out and touch it, but he seemed to have some scruples. In the end, he danced around the cage. Great Master Mu, what kind of spirit beast is this 4-winged rock? Seeing Great Master Mu's appearance, Commander Hao and his group members all looked at him in confusion. Cough, cough. Master Mu pretended to be calm and said, "I've only seen this 4-winged rock in books, it's just an ordinary spirit beast." What kind of spirit beast is this rabbit-like thing? Why can't you recognize me? They obviously didn't believe Master Mu's words. He said that he had seen it in a book. How could it be an ordinary spirit beast? However, since he said so, they didn't say anything. However, Commander Hao secretly kept a secret. When the time came to sell this little bird, he would definitely sell it at a high price. Great Master Mu, I don't think it's a spirit beast. It's just a rabbit. One of the team members said. I also think it looks like a rabbit, someone agreed. How could this possibly be a rabbit? Great Master Mu shook his head and said, to be able to travel with the 4-winged rock, it's definitely not an ordinary spirit beast. However, it's currently in a state of camouflage. When I see its true form, I might be able to recognize it. At this time, another 10 over people walked over from the forest, laughing and chatting along the way. Commander, look. We've caught another Saint Beast. A young man carried a cage and walked over. Inside the cage was a first-level Saint Beast Black Panther. Commander, the medicine you gave us is really good. This fellow was still very fierce just now. I didn't think that once it smelled the medicine, it would transform into this state, allowing us to capture it. Haha, Great Master Mu, looks like our harvest this time is not bad. Commander Hao said with a big laugh. Seeing that they had caught another Saint Beast, Great Master Mu's face also smiled like a chrysanthemum, repeatedly saying, not bad, not bad. Commander, we met this brat on the way here. Those people pushed a person over from behind. Sima Yue and the rest took a look and saw that the person who was tied up was someone familiar. Qing Wuya, what is he doing here? Fatty Chu said. How you Kai, you actually disregarded the agreement between humans and used medicine to kill spirit beasts in large quantities. Qing Wuya glared at Hao Yu Kai and said angrily. Oh, isn't this the young commander of the Green Mountain Mercenary Group? Aren't you taking on those small missions in Yen City? What are you doing here in the inner regions? Hao Yu Kai obviously knew Qing Wuya, and from his tone of voice, the relationship between the two mercenary groups was not friendly. Damn it, they actually dared to treat spirit beasts like this. When Wei Ziqi heard Qing Wuya's words, he was so angry that he wanted to rush out immediately. However, he was pulled back by Sima Yue. They have the advantage in numbers now and we can't call out our contracted beasts. Just based on the few of us, how can we fight them? Furthermore, those people are much stronger than us. But, Ziqi, don't panic. You will definitely think of a way to deal with it. Little Roar is still in their hands. Fatty Chu comforted. Ziqi, why are you so angry? Ouyang Fei looked at Wei Ziqi, his heart filled with suspicion. In the past, this guy seemed so gentle and calm, but now he was actually so angry. That's right, Ziqi, why are you so angry? Sima Yue also did not understand. As a beast tamer master, every spirit beast is our friend. Using bewildering drugs to bewitch spirit beasts, this kind of person is the enemy of the entire beast tamer master world. Wei Ziqi said. Since young, he had been instilled with a thought by his family. Spirit beasts were friends and only people who could resonate with spirit beasts would be able to tame higher-ranked spirit beasts. Furthermore, Wei Ziqi had interacted with spirit beasts since young and was already used to treating spirit beasts as a part of his life. Now that he heard that they had used this method to capture close to 20 spirit beasts, he was extremely angry. Yu, what do we do now? Bei Gongtang rarely took the initiative to ask. This showed that she was already used to this group. Sima Yue looked at Little Roar in the cage and said, they have many people and we are not their opponents now. The most important thing now is to find out what kind of drug they are using. Since it is a type of bewildering drug that is used in the air, the antidote should also be able to spread through the air. As long as we can get rid of the bewildering drug, based on the temperament of those spirit beasts, these people will not be able to gain any benefits. But we are so far away. We also don't know what kind of drug they are using, right? Fatty Chu said. There is. Wei Ziqi said, there is a type of grass called the bitter-smelling grass. This grass can make spirit beasts irritable and increase their blood circulation. It can be said to be the antidote to all bewildering drugs. As long as we can find the bitter-smelling grass, no matter what kind of bewildering drug they are using, it will be effective. But where do we go to find the bitter-smelling grass now? Ouyang Fei frowned. Chapter 81. Yue, how did you get sweet-smelling grass? Wei Ziqi asked in astonishment. I collected it when I was bored, Sima Yue explained. Now that we have the ambergris, what should we do? Let's burn the ambrosia grass and the gas it emits will dissipate. At that time, the drug will naturally be neutralized. Wei Ziqi said. Will this work? Fatty Chu asked. Why don't you give it a try? Sima Yue said as she lit up the ambergris in her hand. Although the ambrosia grass had the word bitter in its name, it emitted a faint fragrance. The fragrance spread out from her hand and silently drifted towards the camp. Woo, the spirit beast seemed to have smelled the fragrance. Because it hadn't been drugged for a long time, the effect of the drug wasn't too strong. After smelling the fragrance of the ambrosia grass, it began to become irritable. What's wrong with this guy? Seeing the holy beast's reaction, Hao Yu Kai said, Muda, there shouldn't be any problem with this, right? It won't. Master Mu said with certainty, weren't there no problems with the previous spirit beasts? Just as he finished speaking, two men hurriedly ran out from a large tent and said anxiously, Leader, there seems to be something wrong with the spirit beasts inside. It looks like the knockout powder is starting to lose its effect. How could this be? My knockout powder won't lose its effect for at least a month. Master Mu said with certainty. Haha, it must be because you guys have done too many bad things, that's why the knockout powder didn't work. Qing Wuya said with a big laugh. Bullshit. Hao Yu Kai slapped a palm onto Qing Wuya's face, directly sending him flying onto the ground. This fellow knows about our matters. Leaving him alive would be a disaster. Master Mu coldly looked at Qing Wuya. Master Mu is right. Come, let's send young Commander off. Hao Yu Kai said. Yes, Commander. The two of them answered and drew their swords to attack Wuxia. Stop. The voice that came out of nowhere caused the two people to pause in their movements. Then, they felt a figure flash in front of them and they were sent flying. Wuxia had originally closed his eyes and waited for death, regretting that he had come out alone. But the pain he had expected did not appear. Then he heard two sounds of people landing on the ground. When he opened his eyes, he saw a cold figure standing in front of him. Little sister Bei Gong? Wuxia shouted in disbelief. Brother Qing, are you alright? Sima Yue and Ouyang Fei came out from their hiding place and asked Wuxia. Wuxia shook his head saying, I'm fine. Why are you guys here? I was just passing by and saw them trying to kill you. Sima Yue said. Initially, when he saw his subordinates being sent flying, he thought that they were from some big clan. Who would have thought that they were just three brats who were still wet behind their ears? You three are so young, but you actually learned how to meddle in other people's business. You can't blame others for losing your lives like this. Hao Yukai coldly snorted. Their matter had been exposed by Sima Yue and the other two, and he was acquainted with Wuxia, so he definitely couldn't let them leave today. Another three who came to court death. Great Master Mu frowned, saying, we can't let others know about our matter. Since they came together, then let's send them on their way. His words were emotionless. In his eyes, these lives were like ants. If you want to kill us, then we'll have to see if you have the ability to do so. Sima Yue said with an evil smile. Haha, to deal with the three of you, what ability do we need? Hao Yukai laughed loudly, saying, any two of us here can take care of you. Amo Akai, you guys go. Yes, Captain. Two burly men walked out from the group, laughing coldly as they walked towards Sima Yue and the others. Brats, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for barging in and finding out about our plan. In this day and age, only dead people's mouths are the tightest. Imo, why are you still talking nonsense with them? Hurry up and go. Hao Yukai urged. Sima Yue and Ouyang Fei looked at each other and saw that Imo and Akai were approaching them. Both of them moved at the same time and ran towards them. While they were unprepared, they kicked them away. Ouyang Fei retracted his leg, not letting go of the person he kicked away, but glanced at Sima Yue from the corner of his eyes. He had been training his body, so his body was comparable to a swordmaster's. It was not surprising that he could kick a spirit master. What surprised him was that Sima Yue had such great strength that she could kick an adult away. It turned out that not only was she agile, but her strength was also shocking. *CKU. Imo and Akai felt that it was too embarrassing to be kicked away by the two kids in front of their teammates, especially when Great Master Mu was watching. However, they felt that it was because they were careless just now, which allowed the two to take advantage of the situation. Hence, the two of them got up from the ground and rushed towards Sima Yue and the others again. Run. Sima Yue shouted and started running in the campsite. Just as she finished speaking, she realized that Ouyang Fei had already run away. Damn it. Although they had discussed this beforehand, they did not think that Ouyang Fei would move so quickly. The two of them had already surveyed the area, so they did not run far. Instead, they circled around the campsite. Imo and Akai were panting as they chased after them, but they could not catch up. Chase them quickly, we can't let the two of them escape. Great Master Mu shouted. Quick, chase them quickly. If you let them escape, I'll have your heads. Hao Yukai also threatened. Hence, a few more people joined the group to chase after them. Wuxia saw that everyone's attention was on Sima Yue and the others, but if they wanted to escape, they would definitely be discovered. He came to Bei Gong Tang's side and said softly, Younger sister Bei Gong, I'll attract their attention in a while. Take the chance to run quickly. My mission is to protect you, not to run. Bei Gong Tang said faintly, just hold on for a while longer. Wuxia saw that Bei Gong Tang was not worried at all, and remembered that there were still two people missing. He guessed that they had some plans, so he did not rush her to leave. With a few more people chasing after them, Sima Yue and Ouyang Fei's skills were not bad, but two fists could not fight against four hands. Furthermore, there were so many people. The two of them were gradually forced together, and the people from the mercenary group formed a circle, surrounding the two of them in the middle. Brat, where are you going to run now? Imo did not think that they would spend so much time to surround the two of them. The two of them were like loaches. Every time they wanted to catch them, they would escape. Run. Sima Yue looked at the people surrounding her and shook her head, saying, The ones who have to run now are not us, but you guys. Ah, you guys are about to meet the King of Hell, and you still dare to threaten us. Roar dash. Akai had not finished speaking when a roar came from the tent. Following that, a series of beastly roars came out, giving everyone a fright. Chapter 82. Chirp. The bird that was locked up with Little Roar also cried out. That cry was too sharp, causing people to cover their ears uncontrollably. Master Mu, what's wrong with these spirit beasts? Hao Yukai came to Master Mu's side and asked in a trembling voice. The mercenaries were all frightened by this situation. This is what happens when a spirit beast wakes up. After Master Mu finished speaking, he walked towards the tent where the spirit beast cages were kept. Before he opened the curtain, a group of mimicry spirit beasts ran out. Roar! The spirit beasts roared and returned to their true forms, filling up the entire campsite. Audacious human, you actually dare to use such a lowly knockout drug to deal with us. Hand over your life. The holy beast that had recovered its strength looked at the mercenaries and roared as it pounced towards them. It was unknown when Sima Yue had arrived at the side of Little Roar's cage. She opened the cage and Little Roar pounced towards her. Woo woo Yu, I thought I would never see you again. Little Roar cried in Sima Yue's embrace, but not a single tear could be seen. Alright, stop pretending. Sima Yue grabbed Little Roar's neck and said, didn't you say that you were going out to investigate the situation? How did you get caught here? Ugh, my friend is going crazy. I'm going to cheer him on. Little Roar's eyes darted left and right as he saw that the bird that was with him had returned to its original form. With a slight movement of its body, it broke free from Sima Yue's demonic claws and flew onto the bird's back. Depeng, what do these people dare to catch? Let them have a taste of your power. Little Roar hooted on top of the four-winged rock. The mercenaries were all in a panic. These spirit beasts were brought back by them after they had knocked them out. Usually they wouldn't be able to deal with a few spirit beasts, but now there were so many of them. Moreover, all the spirit beasts looked at them with hatred. They couldn't wait to tear them apart. Hao Yukai watched as the spirit beasts came out one by one and transformed into their true forms in front of them. Trembling, he tugged at Great Master Mu's clothes and said, Great Master Mu, didn't you say that the knockout drug would last for at least 1 or 2 months? Why are they all awake now? Master Mu was no longer as awe-inspiring as before. Looking at the 2 to 3 meter long spirit beast, he swallowed his saliva. Hearing Hao Yotsai's words, he said, You ask me, but who should I ask? Leader, it must be those guys. Imo recalled Sima Yue's words and pointed at her. Haha, you've guessed correctly. Wei Ziqi and the rest came out from the tent with the bitter fragrant grass in his hands. Sweet-smelling grass. Great Master Mu immediately recognized the item in Wei Ziqi's hands. The bitter-smelling grass can neutralize all kinds of bewildering drugs. No wonder my bewildering drugs lost their effects. Humph, as a beast tamer master from the Beast Tamer Master Guild, you actually disregarded the agreement between humans and spirit beasts and used bewildering drugs to capture spirit beasts. Wei Ziqi berated. Since you know that we are from the Beast Tamer Master Guild, you should also know that this is our Beast Tamer Master Guild's work. Yet you still dare to cause trouble. Hearing Wei Ziqi's words, Great Master Mu replied while sizing him up. He secretly thought that the words he said did not sound like an ordinary person. Beast Tamer Master Guild? I wonder if the people from the Beast Tamer Master Guild would still be willing to be your protective umbrella if they knew of your shady dealings. I'm afraid that Wei Heng would not let you off. Wei Ziqi laughed coldly. Who are you? How do you know Wei Heng? Great Master Mu heard Wei Heng's name and felt guilty. Who in the Beast Tamer Master Guild did not know of the Vice President of the Beast Tamer Master Guild? However, he lived in seclusion and rarely appeared outside, so not many people knew of him. Now that he heard Wei Ziqi mention Wei Heng, he knew that his identity was definitely not ordinary. Wei Heng is my granduncle. I am from the Wei family. Wei Ziqi said proudly. Wei family. Great Master Mu's eyes widened. He had almost killed a member of the Wei family. Ziqi, why are you wasting words with him? Those spirit beasts have more or less recovered. If we don't retreat now, I'm afraid that we will be implicated. Fatty Chu reminded from the side. The spirit beasts that had just woken up from the knockout drug were extremely irritable. Thinking about how they had been secretly imprisoned by the humans, they burned with anger. Now that they could see the people who had harmed them, they could not control their thoughts. Roar dash, the spirit beasts roared at them, then charged towards the mercenary group. Wei Ziqi and the others had already retreated far away, quickly running to an ancient tree far away. You guys actually arrived, but you didn't call us. Fatty Chu saw that Sima Yue and the other three were already sitting on a branch of a large tree and complained. We saw that you guys were chatting happily with them and did not want to disturb you. Bei Gong Tang said in a rare humorous tone. You guys did it on purpose. Fatty Chu sat on the branch and complained softly. Those spirit beasts have all become irritable. Why is Little Roar fine? Wei Ziqi looked at Little Roar who was jumping around on the four-winged rock and asked suspiciously. Sima Yue shrugged her shoulders and said, I don't know about this either. These spirit beasts are really ruthless. Everyone followed her gaze and looked over. A black panther had just torn Imo into two halves, and the scene was extremely bloody. The bitter-smelling grass originally caused the spirit beasts to become irritable. Adding on to the fact that they had been tricked by the humans, their hearts were filled with hatred. Naturally, their attacks were not light. Ouyang Fei's expression did not change as he said. Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang did not have much of a reaction to this scene. These people had previously said that they would kill them to silence them, and had even violated the agreement. Now that they had ended up like this, they could only blame themselves. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi had never seen such a bloody scene before. Seeing the fresh blood splattered all over the ground, they subconsciously turned their heads. Although the mercenary group had more than 30 people compared to the 20 spirit beasts, their battle strength was relatively weak. Very quickly those people were all killed by the spirit beasts. Those lower-ranked spirit beasts began to kill each other after killing the people. Little Roar. Sima Yue suddenly called out. Little Roar looked at her and cleared his throat. He suddenly raised his head and roared. Roar dash. It was strange to say that the spirit beasts that had been extremely violent and ready to fight suddenly quietened down. They crawled on the ground and did not look like they did before. Sima Yue jumped down from the tree branch and walked straight towards Little Roar and the others, leaving a few people staring at her with their mouths agape. Brother Sima, what kind of spirit beast is that? Jianghu asked blankly. We've never seen its original form. Fatty Chu said. However, even if we saw it, we might not be able to recognize it. To be able to make a group of spirit beasts submit, this is not something that an ordinary spirit beast can do. Wei Ziqi shook his head and said. In any case, it's a very awesome spirit beast. Fatty Chu said with a face full of pride, looking as if Little Roar was his contracted spirit beast. Shameless. Ouyang Fei walked past Fatty Chu and could not help but roll his eyes at him. Sima Yue arrived at the campsite from before. The corpses were strewn all over the place. She looked at Little Roar, the four-winged rock below, and realized that its eyes were still scarlet red. Chapter 83. Yeah. Little Roar proudly looked at Sima Yue. Compared to the four-winged rock's huge body, it was like comparing a mouse to an elephant. Sima Yue looked at Little Roar's proud eyes and said, Let them all leave. Little Roar replied, then roared at the spirit beasts. The spirit beasts left one after another, leaving behind only the four-winged rock. It's not going back? Sima Yue glanced at the four-winged rock and asked. Little Roar came down from the four-winged rock's back and crawled on top of her head, saying, Depeng is my friend. He came with me, so of course he won't leave. Sima Yue thought of the time when it tricked Ye Guang into forming a contract with her. Could it be that the four-winged rock was also tricked by it? Feeling her suspicion towards him, Little Roar said in his heart, When have I ever tricked others? Both Ye Guang and Depeng willingly followed me, okay? Don't think of me as someone who is full of evil tricks like you. Hearing Little Roar saying that she was full of evil tricks, Sima Yue pulled Little Roar down from her head. Before she could reprimand him, she saw the four-winged rock transform into its mimicry form and fly towards her. It landed on her shoulder and closed its eyes, falling asleep. Sima Yue tossed Little Roar aside when she felt Little Chick fall from her shoulder and reached out to catch Little Chick. You're biased. Little Roar roared. Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him, then looked at the bird in her palm and said, Why did it faint? Wei Ziqi walked over and said, Maybe it's because of the drug just now. Qing Wuya cupped his fists towards them and said, Wuya thanks all of you for saving my life today. If there's anything you need Wuya to do in the future, feel free to ask. Wuya will not hesitate to die 10,000 deaths. Big Brother Qing's words are too serious. Wei Ziqi raised both his hands and said, However, why is Big Brother Qing still in the Puluo mountain range? I'll tell you about this later. Let's leave this place first. Qing Wuya said. These mercenaries had been roaming the Puluo mountain range for many years, so they naturally knew that the smell of blood would attract other spirit beasts. The 5 of them quickly left the campsite. As Jianghu walked, he explained why he was here. It turned out that their previous mission was completed within 10 days of entering the mountain. Later on, their mercenary group received a second mission, which was to bring people from a large family to the inner region. Originally, they were also unwilling. After all, the inner region was really too dangerous, but that clan member said that during this period of time, Huluo mountain range would be safe, because all the spirit beasts would be attracted by the treasures. In addition to the generous rewards they offered, Jianghu's father agreed. However, he only brought along 2 of the stronger members of the group. Jianghu, on the other hand, insisted on coming along to take a look at the inner area. After he finished talking about himself, Jianghu said, "Why are you guys still in this mountain?" Furthermore, he had even come to the inner region. Although it is relatively safe now, it is not absolute. We only came along to join in the fun. Wei Ziqi said, "Just now, looking at Big Brother Qing's appearance, you seem to know the people from the mercenary group." "Yeah, that's the Black Bear mercenary group that has been opposing our Green Mountain mercenary group for many years. Although their group leader Hao Yukai's strength is not bad, his character is not good. He often leads his group members to steal other people's business and has done many bad things. I never thought that they would actually collude with the Beast Tamer Master Guild to do such a thing," Jianghu said. "Do you know that great Master Mu?" Wei Ziqi asked. "I do. He is a Beast Tamer Master from Yen City's Beast Tamer Master Guild. I heard that his character is not that great. Otherwise he would not be able to do such a thing. I think that he alone would not be able to do such a thing. For him to dare to do such a thing, it must be because the mercenary guild is supporting him from behind, or it could be said that the guild incited him to do so." Wei Ziqi said, "When I return, I will definitely tell this matter to my granduncle." When Jianghu heard Wei Ziqi's words, he immediately understood his identity. Before this, he had only guessed that his identity was not ordinary. He never thought that he would actually be someone from a Beast Tamer Master clan. They walked towards the mountain where the golden snake fruit was. After a day, they arrived at the campsite. Jianghu invited them to set up camp together, but Sima Yue politely rejected him. If they were together with others, it would be inconvenient for them to take action at that time. Jianghu was originally very worried about them, but seeing that they were really unwilling, he did not force them. He only told them to look for him directly if they encountered any problems. Sima Yue and the others agreed before Jianghu left. Seeing that there were many more people and spirit beasts in the mountain valley, Fatty Chu hugged Sima Yue's shoulder and said, "Yue, there are many people who have come these 2 days." Seeing that the mountain was filled with people and spirit beasts, Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang's eyes were filled with an unknown seriousness. "There's still 1 more day and night before the golden snake fruit ripens. Let's rest nearby first," Sima Yue suggested. The few of them found a more secluded spot where they could see the situation below. Because this place was too small, although it was more secluded, no one came to occupy it. While they were waiting for the golden snake fruit to ripen, Sima Yue used the excuse of going to the toilet to avoid Wei Ziqi and the others. She looked around and saw that there was no one around. She called Little Roar out and stared at him as she asked, "What's up with this 4-winged rock?" "Little rock?" Little Roar shrunk his neck and said, "I saw that you wanted to snatch the golden snake fruit. This little rock can fly. When you snatch the golden snake fruit, he can fly us away." "So you tricked him into coming over?" Sima Yue said. This spirit beast is willing to follow you. This is a good thing." Little Roar said. "Of course I like spirit beasts. The more the better. But if you tricked him, what if he comes back to his senses and comes to settle the score with us?" Sima Yue stretched out a hand and poked Little Roar's head. "This 4-winged rock's rank isn't low, right? When he goes berserk, will you be able to defeat him? With Big Brother Crimson Flame here, which spirit beast would dare to act rashly in front of you?" Little Roar muttered softly. "What did you say?" Sima Yue grabbed Little Roar and asked. "Nothing much." Little Roar remembered that Crimson Flame told him not to talk about him and hurriedly denied it. He changed the topic and said, "Anyway, Little Rock won't hurt you. You can relax." "But my contract is already full. I can't contract him anymore," Sima Yue said. "No problem. You can let him stay at Little Spirit's place. When you can contract him, you can keep him." Little Roar said unconcernedly, "Although he is only a 9th level Saint Beast, he has the blood of the ancient Great Rock. Once his blood awakens, he can be considered a pretty good spirit beast. When Sima Yue heard Little Roar's words, the corner of her mouth twitched. What did he mean by a 9th-level saint beast? This was an existence that was just one step away from becoming a divine beast. It was equivalent to the existence of a spirit saint. If it were to fight with Sima Lai, who knows who would win or lose? How did it become a cabbage in his mouth? Chapter 84. You said that the four-winged rock has the bloodline of the ancient great rock. What kind of spiritual beast is the ancient great rock? Little Roar rolled its eyes at her, looking like a city dweller looking at a country bumpkin. What spirit beast? That's a divine beast. Little Roar said, in the ancient era, it was even more powerful than our divine Roar clan. Don't you humans have a saying, the great rock spreads its wings for 90,000 miles? Although this was a bit exaggerated, its speed was not something an ordinary bird-type mythological beast could compare with. Moreover, its fighting strength was also very strong. If Little Rock can awaken his bloodline, then you'll have a pretty good assistant. Sima Yue looked at the little bird in her other hand. It was hard to imagine that this little bird was a spiritual beast with the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. And let me tell you, although this little rock doesn't look like much with my fiery eyes of truth, even if it doesn't awaken its bloodline, it will still be a four-winged rock king when it grows up. As far as I know, the four-winged rocks have not had a king for a long time. Little Roar said mysteriously. Hearing that the little bird that had been sleeping for a day and night actually had such an identity, Sima Yue was even more puzzled. How did Little Roar manage to trick such a spiritual beast? Why is it still sleeping? It's probably the effect of the previous hallucinogenic drug. Sima Yue recalled the blood-red eyes of the four-winged rock. Perhaps it had something to do with that. Then it will just sleep like this. When the golden snake fruit ripens, it won't be of much help. Sima Yue said helplessly. Ah, it's awake. Little Roar happily said. The four-winged rock was the helper it had specially found. If it continued to sleep like this, wouldn't it have found it for nothing? Therefore, when it sensed that the four-winged rock had awakened, it was extremely happy. The four-winged rock's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. When it saw someone, its hazy gaze instantly became sharp, and all the feathers on its body stood up. After recognizing that it was Sima Yue, his body relaxed. You're awake? Sima Yue asked. Thank you for saving us, the four-winged rock said as it flapped its wings. Just conveniently. Sima Yue said, how are you now? I'm fine. The four-winged rock said, do you want to contract me now? Ah. Sima Yue did not expect the four-winged rock to be so direct. She shook her head and said, I can't form a contract with you now. My contract quota is already full, so I can't contract any more spirit beasts. The four-winged rock calmly nodded his head and said, Little Roar said that you have a place where you can cultivate. He said that if you can't form a contract, you can go inside and cultivate. Wait until you can form a contract with me. There. Sima Yue looked at the four-winged rock. Are you really willing to follow me? The four-winged rock nodded. What? Sima Yue was confused. Little Roar's bloodline is even higher than mine. He said that following you would have a bright future. I believe his words. The four-winged rock said seriously. Sima Yue was shocked by his reply. It turned out that this guy wasn't following her because of her, but because of Little Roar. With a thought, Little Roar and the four-winged rock were thrown to Little Spirit. This kind of partner made her eyes hurt. Out of sight, out of mind. The scene in front of the four-winged rock changed and he was shocked. Seeing that Little Roar was here, he relaxed. This is Yu's territory. You can find any place to cultivate. Little Roar said. Little Spirit appeared in the air and looked at the four-winged rock. This is my world and also Master's place. Since you've come in, you'll be Master's contracted beast. Although you haven't formed a contract yet. Little Roar, Master wants you to bring Little Rock around and take care of him. After he finished speaking, he disappeared, leaving behind the four-winged rock who was still in shock. Little Roar flew over and said, How was it? I didn't lie to you, right? Little Rock nodded his head fiercely and said, It's really too mysterious. There's actually a place like this. The spiritual energy here is much denser than outside. Alright, I'll bring you around now. There are some places that we can't go without permission. Otherwise you won't be happy. After Little Roar finished speaking, he brought Little Rock to tour around the Spirit Pearl. Sima Yue slowly walked back to Wei Ziqi's side. Because the place was too small, they had no way to set up a tent. The four of them sat behind a large rock and chatted. Yue, you actually went for so long. Did you empty your stomach? Fatty Chu teased with a smile. Sima Yue smiled and did not answer him. Everyone realized that the little bird in her embrace had disappeared and thought that it had woken up and left. Sima Yue walked over and sat beside them. This rock was really not bad. It was just big enough to hide the five of them. It was also behind the shrubbery and at the edge of the cliff. The five of them sat side by side. If the passers-by did not look carefully, they would not be able to see their figures. Furthermore, if they stuck their heads out, they would be able to see the scene below. There's still one more day before the golden snake fruit ripens. Right now there are even more spirit beasts below. Today I saw quite a few higher-ranked spirit beasts. Wei Ziqi said. I've never seen such a scene in my life. Right now my heart is beating so fast. Fatty Chu patted his chest and said. If your heart doesn't beat, you're done for. Ouyang Fei said. They did not think that Ouyang Fei would say something like that. Everyone laughed. Someone's coming? Bei Gong Tang reminded. Everyone quietened down. With the tall shrubbery blocking them, the passers-by outside could not see them. Father, I suspect that younger brother has really been killed by the Sima family. Sima Yue heard the person speaking and did not think that it would be someone she was familiar with. Nalan He and Nalan Lan walked in the forest and did not notice the person behind the shrubbery. Lan has only been missing for a period of time. How can you be so sure that he has been killed by the Sima family? Nalan He asked, Are you hiding something from me? Nalan Lan bit her lips and a struggle flashed past her eyes. In the end, the worry in her heart took over and she said, Father, on the morning that younger brother went missing, he came to find me and said that the trash from the Sima family had returned home. She said that she wanted to go to the academy early in the morning. He brought some guards with him and said that he wanted to settle the score with her and quietly get rid of her. However, he did not expect that he would never return. He was not found alive and his corpse was not found. Tell me, other than him being killed by the Sima family, what else could it be? Nonsense. Nalan He chided, you were just expelled from the academy. Why are you creating trouble again? Father, I didn't ask younger brother to go. I also advised him at that time, but he didn't listen to me. Nalan Lan said aggrievedly, Father, this isn't the most important thing now. Younger brother has already been missing for more than a month. Should we go to the Sima family and ask? If the Sima family really dares to kill my son, my Nalan family will be irreconcilable with them. Nalan He gritted his teeth and said, Wait until we settle the matter of the golden snake fruit. When we go back we will go to the Sima family. The two of them walked far away as they talked. Sima Yue and the other four finally heaved a long sigh of relief. Sima Yue thought about how they said that they would go back and find trouble with the Sima family. She lifted her head and saw that everyone was looking at her. Tell me, is it you? Chapter 85. Sima Yue touched her nose and said something that even she did not believe. Cough cough. I'm such a pure person. Why would I do such a thing? When Little Roar and the others heard Sima Yue's words in the spirit pearl, they all rolled their eyes. Wei Ziqi and the rest looked at her as if she was deceiving herself. If they did not know her strength they would have believed her, but after this trip to the Puluo mountain range, they knew that she was not weaker than them, and was even more powerful than them. Her words were not able to convince herself, let alone deceive them. It doesn't matter if you did it or not. Based on what Nalan Lan and the others said, they are going back to find trouble with the Sima family. Fatty Chu said worriedly. He didn't care about the matters between the Sima family and the Nalan family before, but now he treated Sima Yue as his brother, so he naturally treated her matters as his own. Last time when you caused Nalan Lan to be expelled, the Nalan clan has been harboring a grudge against you. I heard that in the past few months they have been suppressing your family. If it wasn't for the fact that General Sima has military power, they would have already taken action. Wei Ziqi said, although that Nalan Qi was somewhat ignorant and incompetent, he was indeed Nalan He's treasure. If they knew that he had been killed by you, I'm sure they would take even more drastic measures. With regards to Wei Ziqi saying that she had killed Nalan Qi, she did not deny it. She had also thought of their worries. Since he said that he's going to cause trouble for Grandpa, we might as well nip the problem in the bud. Hearing Sima Yue's calm words, the few of them were shocked. Tiske, you just said that you're a pure person, but now you're saying these words so casually. Fatty Chu tore down her stage. Sima Yue glanced at him and said, purity depends on the person. A dragon had a reverse scale. Touching it would make it angry. If anyone dares to touch my family, I, Sima Yue, will not let them off easily. The four of them were moved by Sima Yue's words. Every dragon had a reverse scale, and it was the same for them. Roar. An angry roar came from the opposite valley, startling the people who were waiting for the golden snake fruit to ripen. What happened? I don't know. Why is this divine beast suddenly angry? It seems like someone is approaching the golden snake fruit. It's a spirit beast. Heavens, it's a level 9 holy beast. They're fighting. Sima Yue and the rest stood up and crouched on the rocks to look into the valley. Indeed, they saw two spirit beasts fighting. The battle even affected the nearby spirit beasts, forcing them to retreat quite a distance. That same beast is really powerful, to actually be able to fight against a divine beast. Fatty Chu clicked his tongue as he watched the battle below. That's because its blood meridians are slightly higher than that spirit beast's. Wei Ziqi said, the blood meridians of spirit beasts can, to a certain extent, eliminate some of the pressure from the ranks. However, whether we can win or not still depends on our own strength. That spirit beast hid its strength. The same beast is going to lose. Bei Gongtang said. The others did not know how Bei Gongtang knew, but not long after she finished speaking, that same beast was beaten to the ground. It breathed in very little and breathed out very much. That full ape is actually a level 2 divine beast. The surrounding people were all shocked by the spirit beast's final display of strength. At the same time, they were also at a loss. General, I never thought that full ape would actually be a level 2 divine beast. Like this, the difficulty of obtaining the golden snake fruit has greatly increased. A guard behind Sima Lai said. Originally, a level 1 divine beast and a level 2 spirit saint were about the same in strength. With the help of others, it was not impossible for Sima Lai to obtain the golden snake fruit. However, now that this full ape had advanced to a level 2 divine beast, its battle prowess was comparable to a level 4 spirit saint. Calculating it, it was 2 levels higher than him. If he wanted to win against it, the hope became very slim. This golden snake fruit is admittedly very attractive, but this macaque actually advanced in rank. Pass down the order to act according to the situation. Don't fight recklessly. Sima Lai looked at the Nalan family's camp not too far away. Over there, Nalan he was talking with his followers. It seemed that they were also talking about what had just happened. The large rock that Sima Yue and the others were hiding in was not too far away from the Sima family's camp. Hearing Sima Lai's words, her anxious heart finally relaxed. She was afraid that Sima Lai would become muddle-headed over the matter of this treasure and insist on fighting recklessly to obtain the golden snake fruit with the full ape. Now that she knew that he did not think this way, she was relieved. However, she did not think that their coveting of the golden snake fruit would be seen by others as overestimating their own capabilities. Night slowly descended. Tonight's moon was exceptionally bright, like a jade plate hanging high in the sky. The silver splendor sprinkled down on the valley. Perhaps it was because they felt that the golden snake fruit was about to ripen. The spirit beasts in the valley and the people on the mountain did not rest. Everyone was nervously paying attention to the situation of the golden snake fruit. Sima Yue stared fixedly at the golden snake fruit tree. Because she understood it a little more than others, her focus was different. Most people would only see the golden snake fruit absorbing the moonlight. The fruit that had not completely turned golden was slowly ripening. However, she placed her gaze on the golden snake fruit tree. The golden snake fruit tree emitted a faint white light, as if it was draped with a thin layer of silver gauze. Under the cover of the moonlight, if one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see it. Is that the gas that recovers the spirit? Sima Yue saw the full ape sitting beside the golden snake fruit, trying its best to absorb the qi emitted by the golden snake fruit. It seemed that the reason it was able to advance to a second-level divine beast was not unrelated to this gas. In the latter half of the night, when everyone was a little drowsy, Mo Sha suddenly said, "The golden snake fruit is about to ripen." Sima Yue kept looking at the golden snake fruit tree and naturally noticed the changes to the golden snake fruit. Those 7 fruits had all turned golden. The fruit emitted a rich fragrance, causing the spirit beasts present to go crazy. Those spirit beasts all rushed towards the cliff, wanting to pick the fruit. However, they discovered that the fruit was wrapped in a white light, isolating everyone from touching it. Just a little bit more. Wuxia said. The golden snake fruit has ripened. Everyone quickly go and pick it. It was unknown who shouted from the top of the mountain, but the crowd was immediately captivated by the golden snake fruit. They did not care about the group of spirit beasts below and directly flew towards the golden snake fruit. When a spirit master reached the level of a spirit king, they would be able to fly in the air. It seemed that these people were all experts of the spirit king level and above. Those spirit masters directly flew towards the cliff, but they were sent flying by the wind created by the full ape's punch. Those people landed on the ground and were immediately surrounded by the spirit beasts. Sima Yue saw that Sima Lai was also flying towards the full ape. She took out a bottle of medicinal powder and placed it in Bei Gongtang's hands, saying, I'll go and snatch the golden snake fruit. Help me scatter this thing on the Nalan clan members. If I can snatch the golden snake fruit, I'll definitely give you a share. Chapter 86. Bei Gongtang looked at Sima Yue and said, You want to go by yourself? You've seen the situation below. If we all go down, I'm afraid we won't even be enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of these people and beasts. Sima Yue said, I have a way to sneak in, but I can't bring all of you along. Ziqi, Ouyang, Fatty, the three of you have to be her protectors. Scatter this powder on the Nalan family members and immediately retreat. We'll meet in Yin City 2 days later. How can we let you go alone? Bei Gongtang did not accept the medicine bottle. I haven't finished my business yet. I won't joke around with my life. Sima Yue stuffed the bottle into Bei Gongtang's hands and said, Trust me, I'll bring the golden snake fruit back for you. After saying that, she quickly dashed out of the bushes and ran down the mountain. Let's go too. Ouyang Fei said, She's not a boastful person. Since she said that she has a way, it should be true. If we go, we might even drag her down. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu did not refute Ouyang Fei's words because what he said was the truth. They had always felt that they were the best among their peers. They had never thought that they would one day become a burden to others. Bei Gongtang watched as Sima Yue ran down the mountain and disappeared into the midst of the spirit beasts. She could not help but worry. How long had it been since he last felt worried about others? Clenching the medicine bottle in his hand, he put away his worries and said, You guys wait for me here. I'll go and spread this on the Nalan family. She was about to leave when Ouyang Fei stopped her. Let's go together. Bei Gongtang looked at Ouyang Fei's resolute gaze and nodded. We don't need to scatter this on Nalan He. There are definitely still people in the Nalan clan's camp. Let's scatter it in their tents and leave. Wei Ziqi said, It's too chaotic here. It's better to leave early. Yes, let's go. Wait. Fatty Chu stopped everyone, took out 4 masks from his spatial ring and handed them to everyone, saying, In order to not be discovered, we should wear these. Fatty, how did you get a mask? Wei Ziqi asked. Yue gave it to me. Fatty Chu put on his mask and walked out first. Ouyang Fei and the other 2 were speechless as they looked at the mask in their hands. Had Sima Yue prepared the mask beforehand to do something bad? Let's go too. The 3 of them put on their masks and followed Fatty Chu towards the Nalan family's tent. Because they didn't know how many people were in the camp, Bei Gongtang and the others scattered the powder into the tent and left. They didn't see who was in the tent. Nalan Lan stood outside the tent and looked at the scene below for a while. She was so scared that her face was as white as paper. She staggered back into the tent. With lingering fear in her heart, she did not notice that there was a faint fragrance in the tent. After Wei Ziqi and the other 3 succeeded, they began to run towards the other side of the mountain. Not long after, they saw Ye Guang waiting for them in front. Master told me to bring you all out. Ye Guang revealed his true form and said to Wei Ziqi and the others. Right now the inner regions were a little chaotic. If they met a crazy spirit beast, Ye Guang's battle strength as a holy beast would be slightly stronger. Wei Ziqi and the others didn't hesitate and directly climbed onto Ye Guang's back, letting him carry them as they ran towards the outer regions. Bei Gongtang sat at the very back. She turned around and looked at the valley that was lit up by the battle, her gaze slightly restrained. When Sima Yue came out from the large rock, she took out a mask and put it on before running down the mountain. The moment she entered the herd of spirit beasts, the aura on her body suddenly changed. It was as if her entire aura had disappeared into thin air. Even when she walked past those people and spirit beasts, they didn't notice her at all. As a result, she quickly passed through the herd of spirit beasts and arrived at the bottom of the cliff. With a leap, she flew to the side of the golden snake fruit tree. Wow, I never thought that I would be able to experience the feeling of flying with you. Sima Yue sighed to Emosha after landing. Emosha didn't reply to her and said, when you come into contact with the golden snake fruit, the power I placed on your body will disappear. At that time you can only rely on yourself to obtain the golden snake fruit. Furthermore, you have to be quick. If the people and spirit beasts below find out, you don't need me to tell you the consequences. I understand. Sima Yue nodded. There were so many spirit beasts and human experts below. If they took the opportunity to attack her while she was digging up the golden snake fruit tree, even if she didn't die, she would still walk to the gates of hell. If you're ready, I'll withdraw my power. After Emosha finished speaking, Sima Yue felt that the power that had just entered her body had disappeared. That light feeling had also disappeared. She took out the small shovel that she usually used to remove weeds in her spirit pearl and squatted under the golden snake fruit tree, carefully digging. This golden snake fruit tree was only 50 centimeters tall, but the roots below were not small. In order to reduce the damage to the golden snake fruit tree, she tried her best to dig up all the roots. Just as she was about to succeed, an angry roar came from the sky. Roar dash! The full ape that was fighting with Sima Lai felt that someone was moving the golden snake fruit. It, who had the advantage, gave up on chasing Sima Lai and turned around to attack Sima Yue. Sima Lai and the full ape fought a few rounds and wanted to retreat. However, the full ape didn't give him the chance to escape. Now that he saw the full ape leave, Sima Lai took the opportunity to fly to a nearby mountain peak. He wanted to see who exactly could avoid the eyes of so many people and spirit beasts and come to the side of the golden snake fruit tree. The others also noticed the situation on the cliff and looked towards the golden snake fruit tree one after another. They saw a person wearing a mask and a large cloak squatting there and digging up the golden snake fruit. Who is that? Everyone couldn't remember that such a person had appeared in the past few days. Even if they tried to identify her carefully, they couldn't recognize her identity. Sima Yue felt the full ape attacking her. Seeing that there was still a bit of roots in the soil, she steeled her heart and pulled up the golden snake fruit tree, throwing it into her spirit pearl. In the instant that the golden snake fruit tree disappeared, Emosha's power once again entered her body. Before she could prepare herself, the full ape ran over and she could only receive its punch. Pivif dash! Sima Yue was sent flying by the full ape's punch. She spat out a mouthful of blood and finally flipped in the air. It was only then that everyone could clearly see her figure. That figure was slightly frail, but it couldn't hide the aura that was emitted from her body. Spirit paragon? Sima Lai said uncertainly. Patriarch, when did a spirit paragon appear in the Yilin continent? No, that's not a spirit paragon. Her aura is very weak. Obviously that's not her true strength. Audacious human, you actually dare to steal my golden snake fruit. The full ape saw that even the golden snake fruit tree had been dug up and was extremely angry. Furthermore, she didn't die after receiving its punch, which made it even angrier. It leapt up and its huge fist once again flew towards Sima Yue. Chapter 87. Emosha could feel the violent energy contained within the astral wind. He took Sima Yue and retreated tens of meters in the air to avoid the full ape's explosive punch. Hey, didn't you say you were very powerful? How come you can't even beat a monkey now? Sima Yue asked as she saw Emosha dodging with her. My soul is unstable right now, so I can't use my full strength. Emosha said, furthermore, I wasn't prepared to receive that palm just now. I took it head on and suffered some injuries. Alright, since we can't beat them, let's run away first. If other people also want to snatch it, we will be in trouble. After saying that, Sima Yue called Little Rock out from the spirit pearl. Seeing that Little Rock had appeared in his original form, Sima Yue jumped onto his back. Little monkey, I'm not going to play with you today. Sima Yue looked at the full ape condescendingly. Seeing its irritation, anger and unwillingness, she suddenly couldn't bear it. It seemed a little too much to uproot a treasure that it had guarded for hundreds and thousands of years. Her mind raced for a few seconds before she took out a golden snake fruit and threw it at the full ape, saying, Little monkey, you've been guarding it for so long, I'll share some with you too. The full ape caught the golden snake fruit that Sima Yue threw over. After confirming that there was no mistake, he raised his head and saw that she had already taken the opportunity to leave on Little Rock. He was a little confused. It originally thought that it wouldn't be able to get the golden snake fruit back today, but it didn't expect that this person would actually give it one. This made it rather surprised. However, it only needed one golden snake fruit, because it didn't want to rely on this to increase its strength, but it wanted this to stimulate the awakening of the bloodline in its body. Fortunately, this human did not snatch away all of the golden snake fruits, leaving it with hope. Otherwise, even if it had to risk self-destructing, it would have dragged her down with it. Thinking of this, the naive full ape felt grateful to Sima Yue. If she knew about this, she might scold him for being a fool. After eating the golden snake fruit, the full ape flew in another direction, leaving behind a valley full of spirit beasts and humans. Before anyone could react, the two parties who were fighting over the golden snake fruit had already left. There was no longer the aura of the golden snake fruit in the valley. Those spirit beasts slowly regained their senses, and some of the higher-ranked ones were the first to leave. Patriarch, the golden snake fruit is gone just like that? The Nalan clan's guards came to Nalan He's side. They still felt that they were in a dream. Just now he was still fighting with others for the golden snake fruit, and in the blink of an eye this thing was gone? What else could it be? Even if that person isn't a spiritual elder, he's at least a high-level spiritual emperor. Otherwise, how could he use a secret technique to raise his strength to a spiritual elder? Such a person even has a flying spirit beast by his side. Are you going to snatch it from him? Nalan he thought about how he had come here for nothing. His heart was filled with anger, and he vented his anger on the guard. This subordinate doesn't dare. The guard hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Go back and pack up. Let's leave this valley first." Nalan he instructed. Yes, Patriarch. The Nalan clan's people quickly left, and the others also left the mountain one after another. Although it wasn't safe to travel at night, if they stayed here the spirit beasts below might go crazy and attack them. That would be troublesome. There were two people who didn't move. One was Sima Lai and the other was Wuxia. Sima Lai stood on the mountain top, looking in the direction that Sima Yue left. He felt that the figure was somewhat familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it before. After thinking for a long time, he still didn't think that it was the granddaughter that he had brought up since she was young. Wuxia, on the other hand, recognized Sima Yue. When he first saw the four-winged rock, he thought that it was just a coincidence. The person who had snatched the golden snake fruit just so happened to have a four-winged rock. However, when he recognized that the little white dot sitting on the four-winged rock's head was Little Roar, he was certain that the person was Sima Yue. However, he didn't plan to tell anyone about this matter. It could be considered as a way to repay Sima Yue for saving his life. Hearing his father's call, he turned around and left with them. Sima Lai had also originally seen Little Roar, but because he had never seen the four-winged rock before, he thought that it was the white feather on the four-winged rock's forehead. Thus, he missed the chance to recognize Sima Yue. General, that person, we can't beat him now. The guard came behind Sima Lai and saw that he was looking in the direction that Sima Yue had left. He thought that he was still unresigned. I know. Sima Lai said, "Let everyone pack up and leave." Yes, General. Very quickly the noisy mountain valley quieted down. Only the corpses of the spirit beasts that had died in the chaotic battle were left lying there. It wasn't that those who had left didn't have any ideas about these corpses, but those spirit beasts had always hated humans taking away corpses. Even if it wasn't their own kind, they wouldn't allow it under these circumstances. Now that there were many spirit beasts, although those people had some ideas, they still left in the end. Sima Yue sat on Little Rock and flew towards the outside. She sat on his back and looked down. Under the moonlight, the scenery of Puluo mountain range was not bad. After leaving the mountain valley, Emosha retracted his power and said, "I'm going back. My soul has always been unstable. Now that I'm injured, I won't be able to lend you any power in the near future." Hearing Emosha's weak voice, Sima Yue asked worriedly, "How are you? Is it very serious?" "It's nothing. I'll be fine after absorbing the gas released by the golden snake fruit." Emosha said, "The next time I come out, this situation won't happen again." "Then do you want to eat a golden snake fruit?" Sima Yue asked. "No need, I can't eat it either. My current soul can't withstand the violent energy from the golden snake fruit." Emosha said, "If you want me to recover faster, it's not like there's no way." "What way?" "Concoct pills." Emosha said, "As long as you can concoct pills that are beneficial to the soul, I'll be able to recover faster." "How can I concoct dark pills?" Sima Yue was originally excited when she heard that there was a way, but now that she heard him mention dark pills, she said discouragingly, "Did you forget about your physique? Emo Sha said. Light devil physique? Sima Yue didn't understand. What did this have to do with concocting dark pills? People with a devil physique can absorb dark spiritual energy. As long as you have dark spiritual energy, you can inject it when you're congealing the pill and it'll become a dark pill. Emo Sha said. I can even absorb dark spiritual energy? Sima Yue said in shock. Then what level of pill would be useful to you? At least 6th level. Emo Sha said, you can only concoct 1st level pills now. If you want to concoct pills that will be useful to me, it's still too early. Sima Yue rubbed her nose and said, back then you were willing to come out and teach me how to concoct pills with this goal in mind, right? She knew it. Back then, when he felt that she had a light devil physique, why would he be willing to expose their contractual relationship? He even enthusiastically taught her how to concoct pills. So it was because he wanted her to concoct dark pills that would be useful to him in the future. Chapter 88. Emo Sha didn't deny it, because he was initially willing to teach her alchemy with this goal in mind. I'm going back. The news that the person who snatched the golden snake fruit has a 4-winged rock will definitely spread very quickly. You'd better put it away and go out by yourself. In any case, with your current strength, no one will suspect you. After Emo Sha finished speaking, he entered the spirit pearl and arrived beside the golden snake fruit. Little Spirit had already planted the golden snake fruit in a large flower pot. Although it seemed that the golden snake fruit had just experienced a change of location, it did not suffer any harm. I specially planted this in a pot. Little Spirit appeared beside Emo Sha and said, this needs to absorb moonlight at night to transform into her own energy. This way, it'll be more convenient for her to take it out in the future. Amen, your consideration is not bad. Emo Sha nodded. His soul floated to the side of the golden snake fruit tree and sat down. He closed his eyes and began to meditate. Seeing this, Little Spirit disappeared without a sound, just like how he had appeared without a sound. After Emo Sha left, Sima Yue asked Little Rock to choose a place to land before keeping him into her spirit pearl. Emo Sha was right. The news of her leaving on the 4-winged rock might have already spread back to Yen City. If she were to return on it, she was afraid that it would attract unnecessary trouble. If she removed her disguise, a spirit master wouldn't attract any attention. Since she was already in the middle region, there wasn't much danger for her. Hugging Little Roar in her arms, she chose a towering tree and climbed up the branches in a few moments. She chose a thicker branch and laid down to sleep for the night. When the first ray of light shone on her face, she woke up. With a single leap, she landed on the ground and dusted off her hands. After letting Little Roar determine the direction of the outer perimeter, she hurried on her way. After walking for half a day, she met some people who were also leaving. Although they did not connect her with the person from last night, they were still surprised that she was walking alone in the central region. Sima Yue ignored their stares. She was not interested in them and was too lazy to strike up a conversation with them. While they were on their way, she contacted Ye Guang and found out that they weren't too far away. She planned to leave together with them. Little Roar had been lying on Sima Yue's shoulder the entire time and did not walk on his own. However, after chatting with it, Sima Yue also felt that the journey was not too far. Master, save me. Sima Yue was joking with Little Roar when she suddenly heard Ye Guang's cry for help. Ye Guang, what's wrong? Sima Yue asked anxiously. Master, come quickly. We can't hold on any longer. Come quickly. Sima Yue was shocked by Ye Guang's sudden silence. She was relieved when she felt the connection with Ye Guang. Little Roar. Sima Yue shouted. Yu, come up. Little Roar's body grew bigger until it was big enough for Sima Yue to sit on. Then he carried her and started running. Fortunately, they were not too far apart from each other. About half an hour later, she could smell the thick scent of blood and a faint fragrance in the air. Yu, I don't have any strength left. Little Roar suddenly said. Little Roar, what's wrong? Sima Yue felt that something was wrong with Little Roar and asked. The air is strange. It's as if all the strength in my body has been sucked out. Little Roar stopped and his eyes were a little blurred. Sima Yue felt that she was not far from Ye Guang's position. She could even hear the faint sounds of fighting. The place of battle should not be far ahead. Little Roar, go back first. Leave the rest to me. Sima Yue came down and kept Little Roar in the spirit pearl. She let Little Spirit take care of him and quickly ran forward. Suddenly she found a few people hiding in front of her. Looking at their appearance, they should be in front of her. Boss, I never thought that these people would be able to hold on for so long under the snake's attack. They are only relying on Bei Gong Tang to hold on. As long as she falls, the other three will not be a problem. No matter what, they are dead for sure this time. Ah, boss is wise. You actually thought of luring them to the snake's territory. The man who was called boss snorted and said, I never thought that the wolf pack would not be able to kill them last time and would actually meet them here. It's a pity that Sima Yue is not here. Otherwise we would really be able to catch them all in one fell swoop. Boss, since they are all here, then Sima Yue must be nearby too. As long as we take care of these 4 people, that trash will be at your mercy. Sima Yue quietly approached them and heard their words clearly. She laughed coldly in her heart. She knew that there was something fishy about the Flame Wolf pack last time. It turned out that someone was playing tricks. With a thought, a jade bottle appeared in her hand. She opened the lid and threw the bottle in the middle of the group. One of the people who was watching Bei Gong Tang's stubborn resistance heard the commotion and turned his head to see what was going on. However, he found that Sima Yue was standing not far away and was looking at them with a cold aura. Sima Yue, when did you get behind us? That person shouted out in surprise. Hearing that person's voice, the others also turned around. One of them was the person who was chased by the wolf pack. So it was you guys who played tricks at that time. Sima Yue stared at them, her eyes filled with undisguised killing intent. These people were all intimidated by her aura. Was this really the aura of a trash? Sima Yue, what do you want? Hearing the sounds of fighting in front, Sima Yue glanced over and happened to see Bei Gong Tang being sent flying by the snake's tail. She panicked and said, You'll know what I want in a moment. Are you still thinking of saving them? That boss looked at Sima Yue. Initially we only wanted to kill you secretly. Since you've found out, then we can only send you directly to hell. Then we'll see if you have the ability to do so. Sima Yue walked around them after she finished speaking and ran towards the empty space in front. Those people wanted to attack her, but they found that they couldn't move at some point in time. Bei Gong Tang was hit by the snake's tail and flew out heavily, landing on the ground and kicking up a lot of dust. Dash, there was a fishy taste in her throat and she spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood that she spat out on the ground was still mixed with bits and pieces. Bei Gong, leave quickly. Don't bother about us anymore. Wei Ziqi lay on the ground and shouted at Bei Gong Tang. Bei Gong Tang wanted to crawl up from the ground but failed twice. She supported herself with one hand on the ground and the other on her chest. Her face was pale as she looked at the snake in front of her and said weakly, Since you guys said that we were a team, then I can't leave you guys behind. What a stubborn girl. It's a pity that I don't like people like you. That snake swung its tail and looked at Bei Gong Tang. I didn't think that you would be able to pester me for so long. Now I'll send you to hell. Don't worry. You won't feel the pain of death when I hit you with my tail. After it finished speaking, it raised its tail high and was about to land on Bei Gong Tang's body. Chapter 89. Bei Gong, run. Wei Ziqi and the other 2 saw the scene in front of them and their eyes turned red as they anxiously shouted. Bei Gong Tang helplessly looked at the huge tail that was falling towards her. She had already experienced how powerful it was just now. If she was hit by it again, she would really have to meet the King of Hell. But she couldn't move. Her leg had just been broken, and now it was difficult for her to move. She had no choice but to close her eyes and wait for the final verdict. Mengji, I'm sorry. I can't wait for you to wake up. Mother, little brother, I'm sorry. I can't keep my promise and go back to see you. However, the expected pain did not come. Instead, he heard a clanging sound, followed by the sound of the snake's tail hitting the ground. Yue. A surprised voice entered Bei Gong Tang's ears. She opened her eyes and saw Sima Yue's resolute back. The weapon in her hand was actually a frying pan. Sima Yue turned to look at her and said, Bei Gong, I'm here. If it wasn't for the fact that the weapon in her hand was too comical, Bei Gong Tang would definitely feel that Sima Yue was very cool at this moment. Unfortunately, that comical weapon really ruined her image. Sima Yue saw that Bei Gong Tang's gaze had landed on the frying pan in her hand. She smiled and said, It was an emergency, so I had to make do with it. Towards the frying pan in her hand, she was also speechless. When she came over, she saw that the snake was about to hit Bei Gong Tang's body. She didn't have time to think and immediately summoned Ling Long. However, she didn't expect that Ling Long was coincidentally transforming into a frying pan and was taken out by her. She had never used a frying pan to save a person before, and she had never done it again. Ling Long was extremely resentful towards Sima Yue's disdain. Her image had been ruined by her. Only when everyone woke up from their stupor did they realize what was going on. Yue, leave quickly. This is the snake's territory. As long as you smell its scent, all men will lose their strength. Bei Gong Tang shouted anxiously. Sima Yue glanced at the snake that was writhing on the ground in pain after being hit by her 7 inches. The injured Bei Gong Tang, Wei Ziqi, Ye Guang and the others who were not injured, but were lying limp on the ground. Sima Yue finally understood why they were defeated by this snake that had just become a saint beast. Sima Yue bent down and carried Bei Gong Tang, carrying her to Wei Ziqi and the others. She took out a bottle of pills and handed it to her, saying, "Can you still eat pills by yourself?" Bei Gong Tang nodded and grabbed her hand, saying, "Yue, you're not a girl. You'll be poisoned soon. Take advantage of the fact that the snake hasn't come yet and leave quickly." "That's right, Yue, hurry and leave." Fatty Chu was paralyzed on Ye Guang's body as he looked at Sima Yue and said. Although Wei Ziqi and Ouyang Fei did not say anything, the way they looked at her had already expressed their intentions clearly. "Ah, damned human, I'm going to kill you." The snake regained its strength and stuck out its tongue at Sima Yue. The 7 inches of the snake's body was the weakest part. After being hit by her ruthlessly, it took a while for it to regain its strength. "Yue." Bei Gong Tang pushed Sima Yue, urging her to leave quickly. Sima Yue patted her hand, saying, "Don't worry, those things are useless to me." After she finished speaking, she picked up the frying pan that she had lost and stood up. She stood in front of the few people and faced the snake. "I never knew that there was a snake like you. Male animals can't do anything to you, allowing you to live until now. This young master wants to drink snake soup today. Why don't you contribute to it?" In response to Sima Yue's provocation, the snake laughed coldly, saying, "What an arrogant brat. You've already been here for so long and will soon lose your strength like the other males. You're still so arrogant even now." Sima Yue held the frying pan in her hand tightly, saying, "I already said that your things are useless to me. If not, why haven't I lost my strength until now?" "Impossible." The snake was very confident in its own abilities. Seeing that Sima Yue was not paralyzed, it was a little doubtful. "What's impossible about it?" Sima Yue laughed. "When did I say that I was a man?" After she finished speaking, she took advantage of He Huan Huan's daze and rushed over. The sacred beast was not something that she could deal with alone. She had to take advantage of its unprepared state and attack its 7 inches. Only then would she have a chance of winning. The snake reacted quickly and swung its tail, attacking Sima Yue. Sima Yue dodged to the left and skillfully avoided the attack. She even took the opportunity to take a few steps forward, shortening the distance between her and the snake. Fatty Chu and the rest were also stunned by Sima Yue's last sentence. They stared blankly at her fighting the snake, their minds still echoing with her words. "When did I say that I'm a man? If she wasn't a man, could she be a woman?" The 4 of them did not believe it. However, she was not hurt by the snake's fragrance and still had the strength to fight it. She was up and down, jumping left and right. It was obvious that she was still very energetic. Thus, everyone quickly accepted this shocking fact. Sima Yue was actually a woman. Level 5 Spiritual Master. Before the shock from the previous wave of shock had subsided, Sima Yue used her spiritual energy to let them know her true abilities. Once again she gave them a huge shock. "Am I seeing things?" Fatty Chu wanted to stretch out his hand to rub his eyes, but found that he could not move. He could only use all his strength to blink his eyes, trying to see if he was seeing things. I really did not expect that Yue's abilities had already reached the level of a level 5 spiritual master. Wei Ziqi sighed. A level 5 spiritual master against a sacred beast. Ouyang Fei did not finish his sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. Spiritual knights, spiritual masters and great spiritual masters could fight against low-grade spiritual beasts. High-grade great spiritual masters, spiritual kings and spiritual overlords could fight against sacred beasts. Now that this snake was already a level 1 sacred beast, only a great spiritual master could fight against it. And Sima Yue was only a level 5 spiritual master. If she wanted to defeat a sacred beast, the result was obvious. I believe that Yue is not an impulsive person. Since she can stand up, there shouldn't be a problem. Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue's back with a resolute gaze. He did not know when it started, but he had a lot of trust in her. "I believe in her too," Bei Gong Tang said. After eating the pill that Sima Yue gave her, The pain in her chest had subsided quite a bit, and her voice was not as weak as before. Yue has given us quite a shock today. However, it is almost impossible for a spiritual master to defeat a sacred beast. Wei Ziqi said. Who knows, she might be able to create a miracle. Bei Gongtang looked straight at Sima Yue. She believed that Sima Yue was not speaking without thinking. When she was talking to her just now, she saw Yue's confident gaze. That gaze made her believe that she would definitely create a miracle today. Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue. He also wanted to believe that she could defeat that snake, but the difference in their levels was too big. Could she really create a miracle? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.